ladies and...
What happened, Scotty?
took on... Yeah, it's called packet loss, boys. I don't know if you guys know, but real bad in my area. So anyway, hello and welcome to your Wednesday night Super Show. First of your double headers of the two double headers that we have each and every week. Tonight, the TCRs, followed by the Formula 3. The TCRs coming to you live from Mosport Park. We talked to Jamie Dyke on Sunday night, said this is a tight, tricky, technical track. He wants to be out here, but I believe he's on race control this evening, boys.
Oh. Well, it's going to be some awesome racing, I think, here tonight. I think this place is probably suited well to these cars, Scotty. Or well suited to it.
I had Nathan Allen in my ear this week, and he said, "Oh yeah, look at this. TCRs are on. I need somebody to help me fill a session." I went, no. But I will get some practice in before next week. I'm actually really this track is actually a fantastic track, mind you, for has the most controversial finish in the NASCAR truck IRL history. Two cars beaten and banging. Like both of them crossed the line on the outside grass and immediately broke out into a brawl whilst the celebrations were going on. So yeah, it was great fun. Look it up. Absolutely recommend it.
Look, a little hard for those situations to happen in the virtual world, buddy, with tonight's racing.
No. Everyone, after the race, everyone just pulls out their Wii U's and we all go down to, what's the app called? Is it Wii Boxing or something? Done.
Probably. Then you'd really have to deal with lag and netcode. That's the problem.
Cowie, have you been doing some research into the three makes and models of cars that we've got tonight? Because remember, halfway through last week, I was still going, oh yeah, that's a Hyundai. Oh wait, no, that's a Honda.
To be honest, buddy, between my own racing and filling in for the dirt last night, haven't had a chance to really, I own the Elantra, so I have had a drive of them and all that, and they're very different. I suppose you really throw these things around, but as for the nuances and the differences between the different makes, mate, I'm pretty much in the dark, I would think.
Good to hear. That makes two of us.
That's it. Who signed us up for this gig again?
Question mark. Yeah, whoever did it, don't hire us again. That was a questionable decision. No, wait, that's right. I'm on fill-in duty all season. I actually didn't sign up for this. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you've jumped in and taken over. That's what you said.
Yeah. Okay. Toddy's been doing some research.
Okay, so yeah, thank you for that, Toddy. So he's saying that the Audi seems to have the top speed advantage at the moment. So we've seen a few guys gravitate towards that. It's an interesting camera angle, this one. It looks like we're crabbing down the straight, doesn't it?
It's just, I believe, the nature of Canadian Westport Park, though, because the straights around here, none of them are truly straight. Canadians, man, look, they're next to the Americans. You can forgive them for not being able to draw straight lines.
One thing I will say about Canadians, though, they seem to be one of those other places in the world that don't take themselves quite as seriously, much like ourselves. And it's one of those places where, Aussies and Kiwis have a tendency to insult each other and use that as a greeting. And I think Canadians is another one of those places where that happens, so...
So that's funny, because that's generally considered a British thing. And Canada is obviously a French colony, not a British colony. So there you go.
There you go. Well, looking at the leaderboard here, buddy, we are, almost 10 minutes into the qualifying session. And it's Riley Jones on top with a 125.2. Just did that on his last lap. Has jumped to the front. Dylan DeBono, our round one winner, is sitting in P2 at the moment with a 125.38. So that's less than 2/10 separating those two, buddy. And Greg Johnson, Team Greg, running up in third with a 125.7 at the moment. So that's an awesome lap from Greg, putting himself right into contention.
And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we did have a phenomenal battle for P1, 2, 3 last week. Unfortunately, Tyson McAvoy has elected to take his drop round early in the season. Unable to be here tonight. I believe he's putting together bits and bobs. He's up and down. He's just too busy to get in the rig. So it will be a huge battle at the front end for 2 cars. But so far, I think this has probably been the highlight series of the week, of our week number 1, because I think the racing was the closest. It was beating and banging. It was wheel scrubbing. Oh, huge car, huge moment, I believe, for De Bono coming out of the final corner, putting into the outside barrier, pushing very, very hard. So his qualifying, he's probably got 1 more lap available to him, potentially 2, if he is quick getting back out on track. So time's starting to wind down. Cowie, have you noticed any major differences so far where the cars are potentially quicker than anywhere else? Anything that you're showing that is the reason why De Bono and Jones are out in front?
Look, I think both those guys have shown some pace in any of the cars that they get in, so it's good to see them out there and battling hard up the front. I think 2 tenths separating them. But as for the cars, I mean, obviously the cars have got feel. I know there's always an argument in the V8 community that, you know, effectively the Holden and the Mustang are effectively the same, you know, physics in iRacing, but I know plenty of people that will swear black and blue that they are different and distinct. Right? I felt that myself, you know. So I think it's the same with these cars. You can have people that love a particular type of car, love the way it handles, and you know, another one suits another type of driver. So maybe that's what makes this so exciting, is you can find something that suits you rather than you having to adapt to the car quite as much.
Well, I can tell you for a fact they are definitely different cars in here. It's more akin to a GT3 style selection. You've definitely got different behaviours, different attitudes to the car. Yes, they're all front engine. Yes, they're all front wheel drive. But yes, they do all drive differently. We saw that a little bit last week. Again, pointing out the point I think we made last week, that we know that the Audi has been around on iRacing for such an extended period of time, and therefore it's got different physics that are applied to it, different ways that you interact with everything, different benefits, different aids that are available to the drivers, potentially like a line locker. They generally try and normalize all of those sorts of things out, and the way that they do that in real life is with bringing out new car models. You'd be seeing that through iRacing at the moment with the different GT3 packages that are applied. Just over the last 6 months, we've received the Ferrari GT3 Evo package. Now we've got the Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo package. The Audi Evo package is on its way as well. So, you know, that's generally how they work with it in real life, and TCRs, it's much the same, but it's probably one of the most loved categories right around the world because it's A, an entry-level category, B, a cheaper category, but C, they just take a beating and they can keep on doing it. And that's why you don't need to spend $1 million on a TCR. That's going to get you nothing. After the first $100,000, you're not going to get any major benefits.
I think one of those things, you know, being a front wheel drive too, it does make the rear of the car, you know, a lot less prone to rotate around on you too. So, you know, I suppose sort of at those entry levels, it's probably an easier car to get in and drive, or certainly a lot cheaper, and, you know, less prone to give it too much boot, spin it round and put it in a wall. So,
quick question, Toddy. Have you got a replay of Nathan Allen's final sector of the current lap that he's just towed from? Because the man had 10 goes at saving that car before it finally bit him. He really, really tried his hardest. So just got to see the tail end of it. He nearly had it. So there you go. He actually hasn't shown up on the incident list, so we can't go back and have a look at it. Toddy's... The benefit here at SRW TV is we've actually got some of the greatest broadcasting staff here in the world. It's probably at the tail end of this lap. Well, stay with him. Stay with him. This is turn. I'm out here selling how good of a job he's done, and then he's given me that moment. Yeah, no, he did. I mean, right at the tail end he did, but it's about settling the car down. Obviously, there's no power, no drive going to the rear wheel, Cowie. So, is it a heavier feel? Is it a lighter feel?
I'm still trying to find my feet in them, to be honest, buddy. You know, I've driven them a couple of times, but I'm not sure as far as the force feedback goes. I'm so used to the rear end of the car lighting up, so yeah, I'd have to spend more time in it, buddy, to give you an honest answer.
Okay. All right. Mission put in the book for the next week. Drive TCR. Come back with feedback. Buy more cars. Have more fun.
Buy more cars, have more fun.
Yep.
Alrighty, well, yeah, looks like it's finished, buddy. So, quali done and dusted.
Qualifying done and dusted for the second time this season, and the cream continues to rise to the top. Riley Jones from Man Up Sim Racing off of P number 125.155, your pole time. 3 drivers managed to get... Sorry, I apologise. We've actually got 9 drivers in the 1 minute 25s, albeit David Leslie by 1,000th of a second with the 125.999. So that is the difference.
That counts.
Yeah.
Still counts.
Basically, 3/4 of a second covers your top 10.
The format has been tonight is the sprint round, buddy. So we've got 2 20-minute races, and we got is it a reverse top grid for the second one?
Yes, it is. Invert top 10. Invert top 10. So it's going to be critical. We did see that. We didn't see that last week in the TCS. No. We did see it in the Formula 3 last week. I knew that we were talking about it on Wednesday nights, Cowie. But this track, it's fast, it's flowy. Indycar race here, trucks race here, all the really, really good fun series race here. And now it's time for the SRW TCR series to come tear the place down and rebuild it in their honour.
Mate, there should be some awesome racing tonight. 2 sprint rounds, and we saw in the big race last week, you know, guys out there in air, and they're still battling right at the end. We're going to have all of these guys still battling if it's only 20-minute long races.
Yeah, so it was, how long was it? Did the top 3 go toe-to-toe to toe constantly?
Yeah, it was almost an hour. We only got right to the end of the race when it started to, work itself out. And I expect much of the same. Short races, we're going to be seeing battle packs galore, buddy.
Before we get underway tonight with the racing, before the lights come on, I just want to send a big shout. I had a group of friends ask me this evening, "Oh, you can't play games with us this evening?" "No, mate, no, I'm going to go do some commentating." Did opt to come in and say hello. So for the guys out there that have come along to watch, I want to say a big shout out to you. It's important to have people that you love coming in, enjoy hanging out and listening to some commentary. Now, on to the racing. Lights are on. Lights are out, standing start, run down to turn number 1. DeBono's got a cracker of a launch. Riley Jones just really miffed that one up, and it's going to be level as they go down through turn number 1. DeBono's going to have the run from the outside. He will have the inside line to the next corner, and it's going to be Dylan DeBono that will lead us on our way down into turn number 2.
Oh, he's gone deep.
Riley Jones tries to hang it out and around the outside. Quite difficult to do. You get off the groove, you'll be sailing into the fence. That is pretty much the story, right the way around the track. Now into turn number 3. On the run up to Moss Corner for the first time tonight. Probably the most tricky and technical place around this track. You've got to be careful on the brakes. They'll dive it down in. They'll try to carry as much momentum as they can up the kill. Big wiggles going on for DeBono. Keep your eyes on the background. Leaky sideways. Leaky hasn't collected a single driver. He's done phenomenal from Leaky.
Oh, great save there. Good car skills. And
now,
more importantly, there's no damage on that, and he can keep going.
Back up at the front, it's going to be DeBono and Riley Jones. They're going to go side by side up the back straightaway for the first time. Mario Andretti straight away leads on to your S's. We'll see if he can go the long way round. He's been on the long way round the first time. Down to the turn number 2. He's going to hang it out and around the high side. He'll get the inside into turn number 9. The left-hander. DeBono's still there. A little bit of corner tunnel rubbing, and he's finally got it back. Riley Jones settles back into the lead.
That's a great move there, and I was going to talk about it before, Scotty, but that we saw how critical the toe was, the draft last week, and looks like it's just as much in play this week as it was last week, buddy. Oh, a bit more from Dylan, but he stayed in it, mate. Get the pace. We're not doing any of those. I was going to say we're not doing any of those tyre cooling down tricks there, are we?
I wasn't going to say that, but I did notice that my lawn needed cutting today, so maybe Dylan DeBono's available for that.
No, well, he did well, and just kept the boot in it and got right through that. These guys are building up a little bit of a gap on Randall behind them, running in P3, but he's having a great run. Greg Johnson has also managed to keep control there, and he's holding his qualifying position. So we are looking at the top 5 are all sitting exactly where they qualified. So it's all going according to form at the moment, Scotty, on lap 2.
Yeah, that's it. Randall Luapui still managing to hang with these top two. The benefit this time for Riley Jones is he's pushing the hole in the air, but he's going to have to defend. Not quite close enough as DeBono at the moment. He's getting there. He's going to show the nose to the inside. Didn't actually get up and alongside. That's just a spooking move. He just wants to see if Riley Jones is going to make a mistake. Gets quite close through the exit of the right-hander of the S's. Now it'll tighten up and onto the tight final turn. All about keeping it on the circuit. You bounce off again into that grass. You're in the fence. It's just so... Even though there's a mile and a half of country between the exit of the corner and the fence, the instant you're in that grass, it just sucks you in, Cowie.
It's the groove, buddy. We all know you've only got to slightly get out of that groove and out of that rhythm, and you find yourself on the wrong side of nothing.
Oh, he's trying to get back to the power. It's DeBono really, really wide, and Luapui behind him is going to be looking at this and going, there's an opportunity here. DeBono's 3 laps in and still hasn't settled. We've got 13 more laps at the conclusion of this one for race number 1. Does Luapui think he can steal some points here?
Oh, something happened to Daniel Fritz. He jumped to the pits. SDK is saying there, and that's gone wide at Moss Corner.
And there's another car that's got a cop in the back boot bumper as well. It'll be the car immediately behind here is Matthew Gerard, who's gone from P5 down to P number 9.
Oh.
And there's damage. There is damage to the left front-hand corner of Dylan DeBono. We'll have the replay on screen for you momentarily. I'm more concerned. We saw what happened to Dylan DeBono. We're going to find out what happened to Matty Gerard this time. There's a huge gap to the cars up ahead. Way too deep. Car ahead of him bounces off the curbing, smashes back in front of him. Nowhere to go for Matty Gerard. Car off on the far side, and Gerard will lose 5 spots just from the car that was in between. Was it Greg Johnson? Greg Johnson is up to P3.
Yeah, I think he just washed out. Couldn't do anything about it.
He's in pit lane.
What's happened there?
Is there a pit stop in this first race, boys?
Well, they also should be requesting to tow these guys out there. There is that rule. And we've had a couple of them now jump into the pits, so bit of crazy action going on now.
It looks like Luapui's driven into the pits, though. I don't think he's towed.
Okay. No, it says he's jumped to the pits in SDK, buddy, so...
And Dylan DeBono's found his way back up from P9 to P6 already, so he is going as hard as he possibly can. Luapui senses an opportunity, pushing a little bit too hard, perhaps. Yeah, it just bounces funny off the curbing.
And the car's broken.
Absolutely bent out of shape. He's got no drive. He's absolutely got no drive. Yeah, the drive train is broken, so there's no way he can get that back to pit.
That's why he's towed, but it should have. That probably should have brought out a safety car, and the request to tow is in there for this league and all of our leagues. So yeah, it's a bit strange one there, but that'll cost him a license point deduction.
Well, when opportunity goes a-knocking, Paulie Gerlin goes to open the door and let it all the way in. He's jumped through that door, Paulie Gerlin. And have a look at Greg Johnson. This is probably one of Greg Johnson's best drives so far. Touch wood. I do not want to put the commentator's curse on him, because Team Greg do want a whole bank of points out of this one.
Yeah, well, Leakey had a big moment there early on, so I can see him just trying to stay on the back of this whole big battle pack here.
Well, DeBono's coming.
Greg Leak has gone wide. Can he keep it to the top as he's done it so far? That's pretty well done, and he'll fall in behind Greg Leak, so the commentator's curse has struck once again.
Greggy Johnson, style points aren't as important as race points, mate.
I just want a couple of the guys there's a bit of a conversation going on for race control, so maybe there's another moment in amongst that as well. Dean Sinkovich had to go into the pits, so he's well down on the standings now too. So, but here's the battle up front, buddy. Riley Jones and Paul Gerlin.
No, I don't believe this is actually a battle. I think this is a light car. I think this is Mitchell West.
Yeah, you're right.
That's Riley Jones going past Mitchell West, who is a lapped car. There's an incident as well that's happened to David Leslie, who's asking for something to be looked into. So that is being investigated by race control at this point in time. So Riley Jones currently out to a 5-second lead at this point in time. But DeBono back up to P3, and he's coming.
Yeah. Look, there's not a lot of laps left, though. It's only a 20-minute race here, 16 laps, so we are already on lap 6 now. And look at this battle pack here. Bradley Wall looking to try and get past David Leslie here. This is a great battle, buddy. Look at Jocelyn behind him.
Is that Leslie trying to find the way past Wall? No, it isn't. You're right. You're right. You are 100% right. Great pickup. Great spot. Yeah, from Cowie as Wall right up and underneath that rear bumper, close enough to show the nose, down the inside of Nathan Allen, and it looks like Allen was the cork in the bottle. He's had Dylan De Bono pass him, now Bradley Wall's having a go. David Leslie senses an opportunity, and Wall goes from aggressor to the defender. Is he going to be able to stick the nose up the inside? Quite tricky to pass up here in a Moss corner. 2 phases to the corner.
That's Bradley.
And Nathan Allen takes his way out into the grass. Well, I tell you what, lawn mowing services not required in Canada for probably the next 3 weeks after these guys are done.
Well, Moss Corner, it's actually, well, after they had the first race here when they opened it back in the 50s, it was Sterling Moss won the first race, and he actually went back to them and suggested, hey, don't make that a hairpin, actually make it a double apex. And they loved it that much, and it got named after him. That's why it's called Moss Corner, mate.
There you go, track history.
Yeah,
that's huge. And now Formula One doesn't come here anymore. TCR's here in virtual format tonight. All of the other series, though, you know, I really want to see more interaction between IndyCar and Formula One. That's just a personal pet peeve. But hey, we'll get onto that with all of the talking and re-talking and reneging on things coming out of the Formula One world. If you have not kept up to date, I strongly recommend that you reach out to some of the social media that's going around. See the
Twitter's been on fire and all the stuff with Oscar Piastri and Alpine. That's crazy stuff, mate.
Another broadcaster from Australia actually getting in on the action for a little bit of fun. Locked On Lads said Oscar Piastri to drive for Locked On Lads in 2023. Just have a little bit of fun with that. That's how to do social media, why don't you?
That's it.
Bradley! Bradley Wall's gone wide down Moss corner. It's pretty much the way that this is working is you get to the head of this third place backwards pack and you go off at Moss corner. One's gone off every lap.
With it. I'd say, look, it's a tricky corner at the best of times, you know, but it doesn't look like they're losing the rear of the car. It's just the front, so much understeer. So maybe just sort of going into it a bit hot and unable to sort of arrest enough speed to get the front to stick.
My word. We're going to have an exciting race number 2, because remember, whoever's in P number 10, they're going to start on pole. So we've got another DHL Welding Services live action replay for you. Sorry, it's DSL. I keep saying DHL. They'd be loving that. But anyway, Bradley Wall's moment up here at Moss Corner once again. What's the info? Misses the apex just slightly, and once you've missed the apex, uphill corners, they've got no grip, they've got no turn in. He's done well to pull the car up and not lose a whole bunch more spots there.
Well, I think it's, you know, again, trying to carry it. That's part of the thing I did struggle when I did drive these things, is work out how much speed you can carry into the apex, because that's where you're relying for your drive up front as well. So, you know, if you get understeer, you know, sometimes in a rear-wheel drive car, you can manipulate the rear of the car and get it to spit out on you and help turn in. It's a lot harder in one of these things.
Yeah, I suffered from that problem, but for me it was always like, oh, well, I can just manage it. Rear tyres do some work. I'll make the front tyres work harder to compensate. With these things, it's like the rear tyres are just sitting there having a nap going, yeah, you guys handle it.
That's it. So, again, I mean, does this race series really bring up that mantra of slow in, fast out? Is that critical?
Well, we're going to have a look in, and I tell you what, if Dylan Thomas is around, always up for some Dylan Thomas coaching tips. What's the best way to drive the TCRs? For you guys that are out there, do you regularly engage in TCRs at home? Do you regularly drive them on the iRacing service? What tips have you got to offer? Maybe we'll extend a few of them out and we'll discuss them with the podium afterwards. In fact, we might be even asking Riley Jones, Dylan De Bono, Paulie Gerlin for their best tips when driving the TCRs, because, well, look, I'll take some free coaching whenever I can take the opportunity.
Of course, buddy. Well, I mean, it's one of the great things that, about sim racing and iRacing, or even just sim racing in general, all the titles out there and the actual wealth of choice that we have these days, you know, and, you know, that can be as simple as cars and tracks and games and simulations, but, you know, we're pretty much spoiled a bit these days, buddy, with all of the new direct drives coming out on the market, all that sort of stuff. We see Greg Johnson here trying to fight back, maybe try and put a bit of pressure on his teammate, but I'm sure he wants to keep it clean.
Yeah, there'll be no huge threat between these guys. Remember, Greg Johnson up in the early stages of the race had the P3, and he lost it. Leakey's thrown it away. They've all thrown it away. They're all having a great battle, to be perfectly honest.
Well, in the end, that's what it is. It's all about the fun you're having out there. And again, you know, some of us aren't, you know, professional sim racers, Mr. Rattlegun. But, you know, the rest of us, we just love having battles and getting in amongst it. I mean, you know, I had a ball. I ended up having to commentate the dirt ovals last night, and I enjoyed myself, don't get me wrong. Todd and I had a great time, but I was looking forward to racing them because that was absolute chaos week one and great to be a part of. And you know, I'm sure these boys here in the TCRs are really enjoying this because it's close racing, and you know, the draft comes into play. It gives you a chance to fight your way back. You get on the back of a battle pack and you've still got a chance.
Yeah, look, just because of a professional sim race doesn't mean anything, mate. I've had 3 DNFs from 4 starts in my professional racing career. Greg Johnson has a Brad Wall down the inside, and he elects to say, "Hey, that's my corner, thank you very much. You're not far enough up here." And Brad Wall was given some kind love and attention to his left.
Perhaps he was just telling Brad that he needs his lawns mowed a bit there too, mate.
Oh, Lord. How's Gerard going to defend this? He's leading this pack. Is he going to do a little bit of draft breaking? David Leslie's taking the opportunity to absolutely bolt away on these guys and extend that lead. And Paulie Gerland's actually doing a phenomenal job. We've got 6 laps
He's got Dylan DeBono. Yeah, you got Dylan DeBono chasing him down now, though, so it's going to get
I tell you what, Leakey was looking to the outside just then of Matty Gerard, so it's not just on with the leaders going after each other. That is, I believe, Mitchell West just in front of those guys at this point in time as well. David Leslie's the car in between our 2 battle packs.
Look at this battle.
Look at Gerard throwing that thing around. He's backing them up into each other now. He's pulling them along down the straights. Now it's going to be Bradley Wall's opportunity. He's going to send it to the inside at turn number 1, and Greg Johnson defends it to the outside. All the way stuffing the wall. Just wants to leave his mark on Canadian Tire Mosport Park. Is
not
Mr.
really
Wall.
the way to do it. Not really the way to do it. You don't want to leave bits of paint there. You know?
That's how you get white wall tyres, I thought.
Maybe after that corner he does.
Hey,
we'll
I really want white walls to come back in vogue. That is a car thing that just needs to come back.
Well, looking at those tiles there, they're pretty low profiles. There wouldn't be much of any room for a white wall on the side of them.
White pinstripe tyres.
What was it? Will I Am got white wall rims.
Oh, Gerard's wide there at Moss Corner, the exit of Moss Corner. Leakey had a little bit of a run, had a bit of a sniff, had to check up, and now he's a long way back off the rear bumper. So it's a Matty Gerard mistake, and Bradley Wall's had enough of this. He's followed for one too many laps. Now Greggy Johnson chases his draft back. He wants to have another go back down into the S's once again. Wall's defending quite hard. They'll all shift over to try and open up the corner. Wall's going to have another go. 2 Gregs in one straight. Not today.
That's it. He can stay in the Greg sandwich at the moment there, Bradley Wall, but you can see that he's getting back in amongst it, having a little look at the inside.
He's running out of patience, is Brad Wall. He thinks he's got the pace on these guys. Set the move up, son. Take your time. A little bit of weaving. Do you think he's trying to send a message to Leakey?
I think he may be playing a little bit of peekaboo in Leakey's mirror, but no, Greg, he wouldn't be paying much attention to that at all.
I think he would. I think he'd be telling Bradley how poor driving he is. I'm just having a quick look through the server, by the way, guys. For your benefit, Sim Racing World does actually offer open Discord chats to participate when you're participating in the league racing here. And Leakey and Dean Sinkovich and Brad Wall and Greg Johnson are all in there. Greg Johnson's had another issue. He's slipped off the back end of this battle pack, so something's happened to him. Paulie Gerland, however, is still hanging on to P2. I thought for sure Dylan DeBono would have him by now. He's doing a great job.
He is doing a great job. Dylan's been close enough the last couple of laps to really benefit from that toe. So, Paul's just shown good pace, and maybe that is... Well, they're both in the Audi, so I was going to say maybe it was the Audi's advantage there, but they're both in it. So there goes that bit of wisdom that I was going to pull out there, Rattlegun.
You know what the real difference is? When you got a Rattlegun in your pit stop. That's where I come in.
Okay, fair enough. No, this has been a good race so far. A couple of good battles going on. Riley Jones, well, he has just checked out in front, 5.8 seconds clear. At the moment, he's been lapping a tenth or two faster than the other guys, but it's more they just took advantage when the battle was going down and Dylan had his moment. Riley was able to check clear.
I want to check back in. So we did hear from broadcaster Toddy that we might have had a replay for Greggy Johnson available to us. So we'll try and get that one up on the DSL Welding Services replay.
Yeah.
So this is coming off of turn number 1. Down on the run over the crest of the hill into turn number 2. A little bit like
tails just floated wide there.
Again.
Playing around with those tyres.
Oh my god, 2 from 2! 2 from 2, Greggy, you mad lad! Okay, you know what, I take that back. Style points might count for something.
Yes, well, style points do count for something. However, in a championship battle,
like
that
one
is
on
very
screen,
little.
which is Brad Wall trying to go around the outside of David Leslie. He's there. He's even with him, and now we come up on the entry to the S's. Is he going to have the cojones to go around the outside for Brad Wall? He's sent it in quite deep. He's opened it up. He's got the inside for the next corner. Job done. Brad Wall up to P5. Oh, is it? Is it job done?
Oh.
David Leslie wanted another shot at that one.
No, it's Matthew Gerard behind him there, buddy.
Wrong one. Doesn't matter. 2 cars having a fun battle.
Dawson, we are on lap 14, so 2 more laps to go. So where we've got those battles, Matthew Gerard running deep there, so it looks like he's fallen off the back.
Oh, he's nearly missed the apex in the next corner as well.
Greg Wett's got him.
Might have damage from Matty Gerard. He's just lost 1 spot, now make it 2. Shows the nose into the entry of the next corner. Leakey's going to miss the apex now. He'll run a fraction wide. Gerard's going to build that run back. He'll have a crack at him down in the Moss corner, you can be sure. There's only 2 and a bit laps left to run, and he will not be waiting. He wants to clear Leakey and have another shot back at Brad, but he's got to do that now.
Well, as you said before, buddy, it is quite a technical track. And not just Moss Sport Corner, but there are several places where you've really got to be patient before you get on full gas on the exit. If you just light it up a little bit too early, it doesn't matter what the car is, it's going to throw you off that line, and then suddenly, you know, you're now fighting to get back to that racing line where you can go full on and pull out.
Hang on, boys. I think Tabono might have just got past Paulie Gerlin, and it has happened. So Tabono back to P number 2.
Oh, has he got him
Run out of time
over the line?
We've run out of time, so time has expired. It's only a 15-lap race based upon time. There was 20 minutes to get that race done in. The 20 minutes has now expired. So Riley Jones takes out race number 1. Dylan Tabono grabs it by a hair on the last lap. Great drive for Paulie Gerlin. Nearly held off the hard-charging Dylan Tabono. Grabs himself a P3. David Leslie, great drive from the After Dark Sim Racing driver. He's going to grab himself a P4. Brad Wall, all of those Gregs to dive, dip, duck, and dodge his way through. Manages to pull it up successfully back into P5. Invert that top 10, boys, because it's going to be time to go racing once again. Nathan Allen is going to be a pole sitter for race number 2. So, we're going to take a quick look back at how Dylan Tabono got this done. Off on the grass, looking to try and enforce the fact that he wants the inside line. I tell you what, if Gerlin had defended there, if he'd defended that inside line, he might have had a shot.
Right, and I mean, though, you've got to make sure you're not making that move too late or in the braking zone, or perhaps he'd already made that one move and then was committed. Again, yeah, a great pass there from Dylan and set him up well done. But yeah, that's right, you move a bit earlier, cover him earlier, make that one move that you can do and block it, you're right. But did he move earlier?
I don't think he did. It was on the inside. For me, following the racing line back out and opening the corner up was... That was not... Yeah, anyway.
What he did. Yeah, gave it up.
But he will start 1 place ahead of Dylan Tabono, so he is going to be... Paulie Gerlin should be, I think, on the outside on the run into team number 1 this time, so he's going to have Dylan Tabono trying to get that one done immediately. Race number 1 of your...
Got a little bit of time, I think, so we've got a 5-minute warm-up, buddy. I will take a quick opportunity to give a big thanks out to our sponsors, DSL Welding Services. Once again, great to have them on board for all of our series, and Pagnian Advanced Simulations as well. Dragon IC on board. We love our sponsors, mate, and got to keep spruiking them.
Yeah, especially when you get their names right. The cardinal sin of commentating, don't get the sponsors' names wrong. Hoi! I'm going to hear about that one this week.
That's all good, buddy. It's all good. Well, this is a bit of a warm-up period. Looks like I don't think we've got any cars actually jumping out on the track. So everyone take a little chance to get a quick refresher before another 20-minute race. Reverse top 10, mate.
Now, talk to me, Cowie. There's a few different ways to go about a warm-up period or a small break in between the two races. What's your approach to it and why? Particularly given this is a standing start race. It's an opportunity. You've got 5 minutes here to get into, I'm going to practice my standing start. I'm going to practice a cold tyre lap. I might tow back to the pits and have another crack at it.
Now, you've been watching a few of my videos or something to see how much I've been bloody butchering my starts of late, mate. So you're probably right. But that's what you should do. I mean, look, generally what I've found is it's when it's an open setup, if you've had the car behave like a dog in the first race, you might go out and try a quick setup change and see if that is a bit more drivable. That's probably the main way I would use a practice session, sort of an intermediate session of 5 minutes or so. But in a fixed setup, you can't do that. So perhaps you'd go out and practice one corner that you kept getting wrong. Think about a line. You do have enough time to go out there and do that. But practicing your starts is another good one, Scotty.
Speaking of drivers that are out there trying to do something about it at the moment, Riley Jones has taken the opportunity to look, this is how you get camera time. You roll out there, you're the only car out on track. Well, it's quite easily to make the highlights reel of the warm-up session, isn't it?
It certainly is, buddy.
Yeah, this will be a standing start practice right here. He's rolling around to a flat bit of track, so it was identical, and he's positioning himself on the left-hand side of the road. He knows he's on P10 this time. He knows he's going to be on that left-hand side of the road.
That's quite interesting. So that left-hand side does put him on the rubber side, which will be handy. But again, you can see
is this another crack?
Another one here. Yeah, I'd say so. There you go. So nice read there, Scotty. I mean,
there's all these different approaches to different races, and it always comes down to the different formats. Number one, it's a sprint race. When's the best opportunity to gain as many positions as you possibly can? The start. How often do you get to practice starts? Well, you get to practice them once a race. What's the best way to get more practice? There's a practice session, I suppose. Why go out there and hammer quick laps? You're not going to get quick laps in there. You're not going to go out there and set the timing sheets alight in the middle of a practice session. What you will do is get a brief opportunity to reset yourself, reassess the conditions, make that tiny tweak. Were you not quite happy with your brake bias? Let's tweak that a little bit. Let's get ourselves a little bit more comfortable. The worst possible thing you can do is to come in on warm tyres and go, yep, that's exactly what my grip level is going to be like when I roll back out here.
I think it's one of those things, we jokingly in various sim racing groups and chats and channels and all that about, the send it or win it or bin it mantra, those sort of things. But in practice, that's exactly the time to send it. Work out how hard you can go into a corner. Work out how late you can brake. We've all, there's lots of videos out there of YouTubers and, BRS and all that where you can watch the ideal lines. You can turn on the line, which sometimes gets it half right.
Crashing is an important part about driver development.
Well, I mean, it's not costing you a lot of money in a car. You ideally try to build up some pace as you go around, but if you don't send it, you're not going to know if you can send it in that corner. And that bit of information, know it in a race, can be quite handy. Go out there, practice with your AI, practice moves. Try and work out where you can, try and put a car. Where is too dangerous? Where is a safer option? Well, all of those things come into it at the elite levels, buddy, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. And you've got all the time in the world to sit down and practice standing starts. The one thing you don't have all the time in the world to practice is the specific track conditions, the specific amount of rubber. So you may as well spend some time getting some confidence in it. It's always been one of my best aspects about a racing driver. Is always quick to the first corner. The rest of the lap didn't matter. If it was an hour race, it was good for the first 10 seconds of the race. And then there was 59 minutes of suck. But hey.
Yeah, well, I've been butchering a few starts of late, buddy, so I think I might take that mantra on board and run with it.
Maybe 10 seconds of suck and 59 minutes of pure, amazing driving talent is just what the doctor ordered.
Sometimes I end up qualifying too high, and maybe I need to just be back battling with my guys again, so...
Well, time to reverse the grid order. Nathan Allen's going to run off pole. Randall Louis Pui off position number 2. Greg Johnson with those couple of off-traffic excursions in P number 3. P number 4, Matty Gerard. Engines have started to rise. Green flags in the air. We're off and running.
Oh, someone's a bit slow off the back there.
I can tell you, Riley Jones got a poor start. DeBono's already grabbed one spot. DeBono's going to have 2 by turn number 1. DeBono is up to, I want to say, P6. Bradley Wall got a poor start. It might be P7 for DeBono. He's grabbed 2 spots straight away. Great start. Wall's gone backwards. Jones has gone nowhere. Wally Gerlin's in trouble. Leakey's doing not too bad. Leakey's going to have a go for Matty Gerard. Nathan Allen's going to leave us down and in.
Leakey's in the wall, and that may well be a safety car.
It's a requested tow.
Yeah.
Has had a drivetrain failure after bouncing off the tyres. That is a request to tow. Nathan Allen's had a huge moment in Moss Corner. And now, Randall Luapui's going to get this opportunity, makes contact with the rear bumper. A little bit of a bump and run on Nathan Allen. Allen's lost 1 spot, make it 2. Matty Gerard slots into P number 2. Nathan Allen's doing his best to get into line on the right-hand side. David Leslie, stiffs opportunity, and here comes Dylan DeBono, 3 wide. No, he's going to back it out and sit in behind his Velocity Sports teammate. He's going to calm it down just a little bit. David Leslie, there on the outside, backs out of it. DeBono will take the spot away, and finally, it's taken us 3/4 of the first lap. They'll slow it down. David Leslie still wants another bite of the cherry. DeBono getting his aggressiveness out. He's really starting to show what sets him apart, and it's his ability to put the car in awkward places for everyone else.
But you can see these guys doing well. I mean, Dylan's up a couple of positions at the moment. He's in P3 now. That's
hang on. Gerard's run wide at turn number 1. So Gerard will now be vulnerable. Luapui's doing his best to disappear off into the distance. DeBono down the inside. You're watching a DeBono overtaking masterclass. 1 lap in the books, 2 more corners, and he's up to P number 2.
He's carved his way through the field. That's a great start. I think off the start there was Dean Sinkovich that was quite slow off the start there as well, and he fell well back. Bradley Wall doing all right here, come up into P6. David Leslie.
A bit a huge moment. He's gathered it back up, but now Nathan Allen's got the opportunity, but he was denied on the last lap to get a good run off of Moss Corner. He's got the right-hand side of the road. He'll have the inside when they get up here. They're 2 by 2. It's Nathan Allen and Matty Gerard. David Leslie and Bradley Wall. They're your dancing partners from front to back.
Somehow I don't think we're tangoing at the moment, buddy.
But it is a bit of a square waltz. That's what it looks like on the track. Bradley Wall just barely gets it pulled up. Right next to that bumper of Matty Gerard. Gets away with one, does Gerard.
Boys aren't racing for sheep stations at the moment, mate. It's on for young and old.
And Dylan DeBono set immediately down, chasing after Randall Luapui. Luapui had a reasonable pace in the last race, just wasn't quite able to show it. Ran his tyre one time too wide and off into the grass, and that was the end of Luapui's strong race in race number 1. This time, it is going to be Dylan DeBono in P2. That's the margin after 2.5 laps for the race lead. And Dylan DeBono is lurking. Matty Gerard has run wide at turn number 2, so the chaos still continues for Matty Gerard. There's nothing to look throughout the rear bumper of his car, and that's because he's at the tail end of the pack.
On our race 1 winner, Riley Jones has managed to get up a couple of positions, running in P8 at the moment. He just made a move up the inside of Mitchell West. I think Mitchell might have been put the pressure on him.
But now it's going to be Daniel Fritz that's ahead of him. He's just found himself in all the wrong spots. Whereas Dylan DeBono's put the car next to somebody else and immediately found the spot. Riley Jones still struggling to get any sort of overlap. We'll see if he can get down the inside, down the end here. He's just not close enough. You might be right about those Audis. They are just pulling away.
Well, I think, you know, again, you put it right. I think Dylan made all of those moves on lap 1, mate. That's when do you want to try and make those moves? Right at the start of the race. That's when you're going to get the most bang for buck. It's also risk versus reward as well, but Dylan showed his skill, mate, was able to make it work.
You know what? Riley Jones is very wide on the entry of the S's. He had clear air the entire race of race number 1. Now, they're not fast cars, these TCRs, but they are fast enough to cause some aero wash, and I wonder whether or not he's struggling just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah. So, well, there's a man who hasn't struggled so far. Dylan DeBono now getting right up onto the tail of Randall Lilpui, and it's on for young and old here too, buddy.
I tell you what, Riley Jones might have a mechanical issue because Mitchell West just went to send one down the outside of him. He's got none of the pace that he had in the first race. He's struggling.
I mean, I don't know if tyre wear is a big thing with these cars. If it's, you know, where you really, you know, if you hurt the tyres too early on in a race.
Oh, he touches the grass. Has a big old wiggle. Whether or not he's pushing too hard, has he overfilled the car? Something's wrong. Something is not right for Riley Jones. Is there damage? I don't see damage.
No, the car looks pristine. The paint looks good. At the moment, just not able to get close enough to Daniel Fritz in front and get benefit from that toe. And maybe he's defending too hard at the moment, trying to hold off Mitchell.
Nathan Allen's had a huge moment, and Riley Jones, the night continues to get worse. If there was a mechanical failure before, there is a complete and utter failure on the front right now. He has got a disconnected right front tyre. Is that going to trigger the SRW safety car to make a trip out onto the track? And Riley Jones is done.
Now. We'll have to see what race control's got to say. Will they bring that out? Pull the trigger on the safety car at the moment.
Nathan Allen's just barely made it back to pit lane. He's crawled that car in. So
What's happened there with Dylan was right up on the back of Randall, and he's dropped off a bit, but Nathan Allen has made it back. Does he have a fast repair? So that's from the contact
with Riley Jones. He will grab a fast repair and get back into this one. But something happened. Riley came across Nathan Allen when Nathan Allen was already parked across the road. He had nowhere to go.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate, mate, but it is racing. We all know what happens, but we don't think we've seen the safety car just yet, so...
no safety car. It's a little bit too hot, a little bit too heavy. Big old drift.
Yeah. When he was trying to get back onto it, the rear was still rotating around, and, you know, yeah, Paul Riley had nowhere to go.
I thought with these things, you grab the gas pedal and it pulls you out straight in that instance. Okay.
I think he still had the rear of the car rotating around, I think was the problem.
That's what happens when you're missing a left rear tyre. But anyway, that is what it is. Luapui's got the lead of the race at the moment, and I tell you what, Dylan DeBono is taking to using the extreme edges of the track. He's using a little bit of extra space to try and keep himself there. Bradley Wall's done a phenomenal job to follow in his draft and keep it in P number 3, but Wall will grab a little bit of the grass. If he keeps more of that up, it won't just be the grass he grabs, he will be grabbing some Bradley Wall.
I'm sure he doesn't want to meet his namesake out there tonight in this car.
I'm sorry, that was too easy.
I know, buddy.
He sets it up every time. Like, it's just... I'm sorry, Brad. I've been doing that to you for a couple seasons now.
Paul Gerlin with the P3 in race 1, just getting pipped at the line. Currently sitting in P5 at the moment, so he's having a good run here. Again, you know, this pace is so close between them. We're talking a couple of tenths each lap. And the draft, the toe, is keeping them all in it.
Tell you what, Bradley Wall's actually starting to make some time back towards the leaders, I think, as well. So keep an eye on that one.
That's good, Leslie. Look up the inside there. No.
Yep. Leslie's going to have a look. It's a double eight. It's a double apex, that first right hander. You don't want to be in on the curbing initially as you turn in, because you'll never make the secondary apex. You want to carry the most speed through the corner. It's a tricky corner. Very, very technical. David Leslie ranging right up on the back here, and that is Paulie Gerlin as well. So three-way fight now for P number 3, and Bradley Wall not long for it because David Leslie just clears him straight away.
Oh,
Wall's got a little bit wide. Gerlin's going to be there in a moment if he's not careful, so it's going to be David Leslie who takes away P number 3. This is where Wall's strong. Wall's now right back up underneath the rear wing of the After Dark Sim Sports car. Is Bradley Wall going to be able to send it back? No, they'll settle it back down. It's just, we are centimetres away from disaster from these guys.
Well, I think that might have also been a corner that just highlighted some of the differences between the cars as well, because you know David really washed out going down into that sweeper, and Bradley and Paul were driving through and catching him. So that's interesting. We'll have to see if that behaviour is something that we notice in more of the cars and some of those corners.
And the thing that you'll notice up ahead is the white and black livery of Dylan DeBono has now taken over the race lead. So Luapui gets shafted back down one spot. Move done from Dylan DeBono. We'll see if he can set sail. There was a few mistakes in the first race, so this isn't over just yet for Dylan DeBono. But you've got to be starting to favour him for a race 2, and that'll be a round victory as well for Dylan DeBono.
Well, he's pushing hard there, and it was a great move. I think he just got a great exit out of Motorsport corner and was able to get the job done down the straight.
Well, we're going to have a replay here in a moment just to find out how exactly the lead changed hands. So it's been a fair while ago. This will be the S's on the previous lap. DeBono sold him a dummy. I'm going to go around you on the outside. Late on, dips in, gets it pulled up, and then he'll just take the apex away and not offer any opportunity for Randall Luapui to come back, and he blocks it all the way through all three. Luapui gets a great run off the final corner though, and that's what parking on the apex looks like. That is how you defend.
Well, I think Randall, maybe if he had been able to get that car to turn in a bit sharper there, he might have been able to shoot that up the inside. He had great pace off the last corner. Alright, these boys are battling hard here though, so unlike race number 1, the leader has not been able to get clear. We've got 6 cars within sight of the lead there, and there's another 3 or 4 that aren't too much further back either. We are at halfway, 8 laps into our 16 lap second sprint race tonight. We'll have to see if it actually goes. We might pay attention to Barney the Flagman. Barney the Flagman.
Barney the Flagman.
Barney the Flagman. Pay attention to Barney in case we get caught a lap early like we did last time on.
Great recovery drive again for Paulie Gerlin, driving up from P8 on the grid after that P3 finish in race number 1. And down the inside, Riley Jones is going to slide of another car, but I don't think that's actually for position for Riley Jones. I think that is him just unlapping himself from Mr. Sinkovich.
Yeah, Riley, and in the wars, unfortunately, in this race, put on a great battle there in the first race to take that home, but the reverse grid didn't really suit Riley, it seems, this time. He got caught right in the middle of things.
I mean, with a bag of points behind you, you don't blame him taking the cautious approach, whereas DeBono was like, right, that's it, I'm winning this race, come after me. And that's just his approach to racing in general. That is how he drives.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Riley's a bit of a send-it racer out there too, and perhaps, just got caught out. Dylan did get an amazing start there and was able to do a lot of that damage in the first lap. So what he got from P10 up to P9 up to P3 on lap number 1. So
well, it was P9 to P7 by the time they got through turn 1.
Yeah, there you go.
And
yeah, Bradley Wall got caught a bit on the outside there, and looks like he's dropped back a couple of positions now in 6. So that's Mitchell West, who we were talking about before, who was battling hard with Riley Jones. Mitchell is now up into P5, so he's having a great race number 2 as well.
And I tell you what, Leslie's going to have a huge dive down there at Paulie Gerlin as well. Sorry, No, it's Randall Luapui he's having a crack at, and he ran wide in turn number 1, and now he's going to lose a spot to Paulie Gerlin. Went into turn number 1 with P3, having a crack at P number 2, very wide at the apex in turn number 2 as well, and now he's going to drop 2 spots to Mitchell West is going to pick up another one.
Yeah, nice little opportunistic move there from Mitchell, saw the opening and went for it. Great to see.
Well, that just highlights it. You go down the inside, you try and pull a move off, there's risks that's associated with that. One of the risks is you've got to still pull the car up on the other side of the corner. Didn't do so properly from David Leslie's shoes, and 2 spots is the difference between, well, if he'd got P2 away, he would have looked like a hero, and now he looks like an absolute zero.
Well, as you said, you know, it's all about making that move done and then parking it on the exits so that you'll slow exit speed because you've gone in harder.
Bono and Luapui coming back to these guys. So something's happened to those guys as well.
I think the battles, it just seems the tow is keeping everyone connected. And the moment, I know we talked about it with Tyson last week, the moment you start battling in these cars, you're a second a lap slower than the guys that aren't battling. So, you know, unless you've got your teammate up there and you can do a bit of working together, you know, it's great for us because we get to see a battle right to the finish of the race.
Now remember, ladies and gentlemen, 20 minutes is the timer that we've got to get this race done in. We've just started lap number 11. I have a feeling we're going to get to that lucky 15 number mark again. So keep your eyes on that one. 16 laps will be maximum race distance. Maximum allowed race distance based upon time scenarios as well. So now what was looking to be a 2-way fight for the win is now a 4 cars in this lead pack. David Leslie's just outside of it, so expect him to try and tag back in as well. And Luapui's going to have a go here. De Bono's tyres may be fading. You might have been bang on there, Cowie, about the tyres.
Well, again, we're seeing different lines there. I think maybe more, both of those guys driving the Audis, so it's definitely not the difference between the cars. Maybe technique coming into Moss Corner too, because it's very tricky, and I know, like driving the V8 supercar around there, you're sort of shifting mid-corner as you're floating up into the first part of it. And I don't know if you're doing the same in the TCRs, but it's a floaty corner, mate, so the front of the car can be light, and that's where he drives from, so I can see why some of them having a bit of trickiness there.
Yeah, so that's out the back of the pack. There's just a little bit behind Mitchell West. Just showed the nose down the inside, just ahead of these guys on Paulie Gerland at the last corner. It was a late dive in at the corner from Mitch West, and Gerland will come away and get a half a second margin down the main straight, and that's the mistake of just being slightly overeager with having a go here. Luapui's still in range for a shot at De Bono with a couple laps left to run. Might be thinking about hanging on to it, have a shot on the last lap, unless De Bono's just saving, just covering himself in terms of tyres just a little bit. And now Paulie Gerland closes in on Randall Luapui. So it is an all-out scrap for the podium in race number 2.
I think, as you said, Scotty, the moment you sort of stick your nose out or think about half a move,
Luapui's very deep. Luapui is not just very deep. Luapui's got it around the outside. That is a move you'd never expect on the way to Moss Corner.
Trying to squeeze
over and squeezes Gerald onto the grass. Now Mitchell West is getting involved, taking evasive action. So West will send it down the inside. Luapui has got the lead out of all this.
That's a great move there, and you can see that the moment those boys started fighting, then that brought Paul Gerland right in the equation. Is that filling on the inside again now?
Same move that Paulie Gerland had sent on him in the last lap of the last race. Very deep now from Dylan De Bono. Tries to get it back to the left-hand side of the road. Now Mitchell West is under Luapui's rear bumper. Luapui at risk here, and here comes Paulie Gerland.
Yeah, well, Mitchell got checked up a little bit then, and that gave Paul a second win to jump to the back.
He'll take a little bit to the runoff area. And De Bono is still coming back to these guys. They're squabbling for all money.
This is a four-way battle up front. This is exactly what you want to see on a Wednesday night.
And David Leslie's just dropped into the toe. Down the inside. Big old dive. Rubbing is racing, but Randall Luapui's still going to hang on to the outside of it. Now Mitchell West is showing the nose. Will he have a sniff on the run into Moss Corner? Is it going to be an opportunity? He's still there, looking for the alternative line. Dives out late. Mitchell West, huge dive, slightly too deep. Gerland down the inside, side by side to Moss Corner once again. David Leslie's looking to pick up the pieces, and now Bradley Wall's involved in this.
So it is risk versus reward. Make a move, get it wrong, lose 3 spots. Like, it's Russian roulette out there tonight, buddy.
Put one in the chamber because somebody's going to come away with none of the marbles.
Well, Dylan DeBono's hoping this continues on behind him.
Hang on! Bradley Wall wanted to send it 3 wide. He's down the inside of David Leslie. He'll take P5 away once more. Now Leslie's going to have a shot back at him through the left-hander. 6 the nose down there. Bradley Wall will have the inside of the final corner. Who's going to come away with this one? They're going to be side by side up the last corner. Potentially 2 laps to go. Just about rubbing doors on the way into turn number 1.
We've seen a white flag.
This is it. This is the last lap.
Leslie's gone wide.
Leslie tried to hang on to it a little bit too hard, a little bit too far, and I can tell you back up in front, Dylan DeBono's gone, but Luapui is struggling. Had a huge moment through turn number 2. So it's going to be Mitchell West, who had a crack at him on the last lap. Now it's Paulie Gerland's turn.
Oh, it's not done yet. Paul Gerland pushing hard here.
And this is where Luapui was weak. This is where they were looking for having a crack. Luapui looks wide there, pinches a break. Now it's going to be Paulie Gerland to have a shot, but he launched off the corner so well. And DeBono's still coming back to these guys. DeBono's not running away. We thought he might be gone, but Randall Luapui has got so much straight line here. There's so much for Paulie Gerland to overwhelm. It might just be done. He's going to draft from the car ahead of him. Mitchell West is too far back. Bradley Wall's got P5, and that'll be where he finishes should he get through the last couple turns. Dylan DeBono's got the race lead. We'll see if he can come away with it. Paulie Gerland will have a crack, but not from that far back. And it is going to be Dylan DeBono who will come away with the race to win. Pulls across to the inside, and that'll be round victory for Dylan DeBono as well.
That was some great action. Since you gave this series a good plug after round 1, buddy, where we saw that exciting action.
Round 1 was a warm-up.
Sprint race tonight. It was crazy, wasn't it?
Round 1 was an absolute warm-up. It had nothing on this.
These guys have been able to race hammer and tong, and when you've got a 5-6 way battle for the lead on the last lap, that's awesome stuff.
You know what? I just realised that we've got Porsche Cup coming from here tomorrow night. I'm not looking forward to that after what I've seen.
Yeah, well, V8's here as well, so it's going to be a big win at Motorsport Park. So
did DeBono underfuel the car maybe?
Well, it's a big series. I don't think he can. This is a big series.
See, there you go. I didn't know that. No, wait, I don't think this is a fixed series. I think this is open.
Is it? Oh, okay. Well, it was Audi. So it seems that the Audis did have the advantage here at Motorsport Park this week. Maybe that top speed that Toddy was talking about, buddy.
I've given myself a headache from how loudly I've been yelling into the microphone.
Well, it sounded good at this end, buddy, and I was happy to let you run away with it. And it was some exciting action and an exciting call, buddy, so well done.
My word, what a race these guys have put on. Paulie Gerland has come away from P3 and P3 in both races. He'll take that.
Yeah, look, we're just waiting on to get these guys into the green room, just completing their return lap. Again, if you don't put enough fuel in the car to get home, it's going to cost you another license point and a rear of grid for the next race. So
don't tell anyone I ran out of fuel last week in the Radicals then.
I did the same thing. I think I've got a rear of grid in the Radical too. So. Well, I had Bruce White push me over the line, mate. I didn't even have enough fuel on to finish. And I think, if I remember correctly, he was. I was worried about him giving me another push because I only had 1 incident point left. And if he banged me too hard, it would have been a 4X and it would have DQ'd me.
Mate, so you were running it fine.
I just completely stuffed it up. I think I forgot to turn crew chief on, and I had to guess, and I guessed ordinary.
At this stage, should we put a note on the inside of your dashboard? Make sure you put your helmet on before you get in the sim.
No. I need a thing that says don't use me too fast on the shifter. Because I blew the engine last night in the V8 race again too, so...
You are having a bang-up week in the sim, aren't you?
Mate, look, I'm loving it, don't get me wrong. I've recently redone my sim, it's rigid. I had a bit of flex that I had to get rid of. I've got the screens perfectly aligned, everything, it's awesome. It's just, I can't blame the equipment anymore. It's all about the driver.
If you thought that was all that there is to come from tonight's racing events. No, I've got great news for you. That's not all there is to come. There's more. And last week we said that TCRs was a great series. Well, F3 was biff bang bomb and a bit more. How you like it from the Twin Ring Motegi. We'll be going there live immediately following the conclusion of our podium ceremony. So far, we've only got our race number winner in our interview room, so we'll go ahead and grab Mr. Dylan DeBono. Now, Dylan, is it Dylan DeBono? Dylan DeBono? What's the preference there?
I think it's easy if you just pick. I'm not even sure, to be honest.
Just call me Mr. Winner.
No, that's a tough one.
That was awesome fun racing, mate. The instant that I thought that you and Randall were just going to pull away and you have it all off to your own, something happened and all of a sudden the whole pack come back in. Was the tyres starting to come back to you? A little too much heat in those things?
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe after contact between me and him, I had real bad. The water temp was at a warning and it was getting hotter and hotter. So I just kept trying to cool it down where I could, coast where I could. And yeah, by the end of it, got to like 130.
Now, this was a move. This was an absolute send-it move from Randall Luapui around the outside. That was probably move of the race. And it set up probably one of the tightest battles of the race because all of a sudden we've got Dylan DeBono in the lead. We think we're over and done with. Dylan DeBono is going to save out to the end, but obviously managing the walking wounded car. Look, mate, it's difficult. The reverse grid races, they take a little bit of a mix of risk versus reward at the same time of I've got to get to the front as quickly as I possibly can.
Yeah, exactly. I knew what's the guy that came second's name?
Randall.
Randall.
Yeah, Randall. I knew he was real fast and got unlucky in the first race, so I knew he would pull away quite fast, but I sort of just went for it the first lap and got up to third and worked with Nathan through a bit and then caught up to Randall.
One of the keys in these cars to actually work together with your teammate out there, because it does seem the moment you get into a bit of a battle, it costs you a second or more a lap and just gives you the people behind you a chance to catch up again.
Yeah, I think that's because the cars are so close together, and if you really want to make a move, you got to fire it in pretty deep, and obviously that costs time to the pack, and then people just catch up, and to be honest, it just makes real good racing.
Now, mate,
Dylan, sorry, go Scotty.
Oh, you're already in there. You're going ahead, Cal.
No, I was just going to say, it doesn't look like we've got any of the other podium finishes in the green room, so we're not going to get much more of a chat going on. So I was going to ask Dylan, you're enjoying the racing, buddy. Is this your favourite series so far?
Yeah, probably either this or the V8s is good fun, but yeah, I don't mind it. It's good fun. Hopefully, we can go to a better track next week. This one's a bit of a...
Don't say that where Jamie Dyke can hear.
Comes away with the W for the round winner and race 2 winner, and it's not really a fan of this place.
Yeah, I think it should stay as a drifting track, to be honest.
Well, awesome, Dylan. Well, look, let us know about the sponsors and a team there looking after you, buddy. And you're not down to racing the F3s, I don't think, are you? So, but let us know who's looking after you, buddy, and we can give them a good shout out.
Yeah, big thanks to Velocity Sim Labs for all the help they do during the week leading up to it, all the practice sessions they put up, and yeah, that's pretty well, to be honest. And Nath for always being around. You guys putting on a good stream, SOW for obviously hosting the events and all the effort they put into it, and yeah.
Just got Emma Gerland saying Paul's having problems with the PC, that's why he's unable to join us here in the green room. So that's a bit unfortunate, Scotty. We'll have to grill him next week about his driving style, eh?
Yep. Yeah, we'll get all over Paulie because he had a cracking race tonight, which is unfortunate tonight because I think tonight would have been more fun to talk to him about because of that pack and how dense it was, particularly towards the tail end. It was about risk versus reward. Dylan, in terms of things, particularly with the TCRs and of course with the nature that this one's got as well, it's not only it's risk versus reward with the moves. We saw you actually cover the line quite aggressively once you got the move initially done on Randall Luapui the first time here tonight, but it's also at the same time, you've got to, when you're looking for a move around here, or any similar laid out track where the corners are all a little bit closer together, there's generally only one groove. If you're going to have a go at that move, you've got to get it done, or else there's all of a sudden you've got 3 guys swamping you from behind.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely got to sit behind them and suss out where you're faster. That's what I sort of tried to do the first 3 or 4 laps, and then I saw the opportunity down the back straight. He sort of tucked it in tight and went out. I was like, well, if he's going to leave that line open, I guess we'll have to take it off him.
All right, mate. Well, thanks for another banging race. Thanks for another banging battle, and we'll see you back again next week to bang wheels with some more competition. Thank you very much for your time.
Too easy. Cheers, guys.
Righto, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming up to us live in a few moments. We'll transfer on over to the Formula 3 server. Just had an update from Race Control. I'll pass this along to all the drivers who might be actually listening to this one. The session's actually being put live a little bit later than was originally forecast. What we're going to do is we're going to manually forward that one through. So if you are in the server, don't pay any attention to the practice timetable that you see available. Only thing you should be paying attention to is the regularly scheduled Formula 3 practice. We'll be forwarding things on as soon as we would normally go live for qualifying. So we'll be live, ladies and gentlemen, from Formula 3 in just a few moments. In the meantime, why don't you have a sit back, a relax, we'll grab a drink, we'll reset, I'll get the oxygen tank hooked up, and we'll be ready to go in a few moments.
Did any of that go through? Because the feature, the
Wednesday show with the TCRs now run and done. It's on to the Formula 3. We've gone from the big old things that don't turn very quickly with all the power at the front end of the car to the things with a heap of downforce, not all that much weight, and open formula racing, Cowie. So,
well, I was going to say, you know, cars that you've gone from cars that do handle a good bit of door banging to cars that don't handle any banging at all.
No. Door banging all night long. That's it. Just cars mounting the tyres and the car ahead of them. Just seen a little bit of an accident on pit lane exit. You're watching the final moments of practice here. I think we've got 4 minutes left to go. And the timing boards are going to tell you a little bit of a story as we work our way into things for tonight. Matty Jones, 1.5 seconds clear of P number 2. So a 141.780 follows Darren Fahey with a 143.103. 143.141 for Adam Simpson. 143.351 for Brucey White. Well, Brucey still making his way into the series, caught a little bit of a grass, and everyone was looking for Brucey to pull something magical out at the tail end of things with safety cars all fell his way. Didn't go his way last week at all, and he followed it up with another little bit of a shocker. And
yeah, he said he caught the inside of the grass there, just the inside of the curb, and it just rotated the car around right at the wrong time. But you know.
He showed back up again this week, and the time is right up there and in contention for where he wants to be. So week 1 from the back of the grid, week number 2 right up and at the pointy end of things. Nathan Verney on screen so far, 7 seconds off the pace. That is very un-Nathan Verney-like.
It is very un-Verney-like. P4 in last week's rate, Nathan Verney, so has been one of those guys that, you know, just keeps putting himself in contention each week, even if he has a bad sort of a moment or an incident out there. He keeps going to the end and seems to just get those points and bank them. You see there, trying to look for the fast entry into the pit lane. It's not going to quite work there. But yeah, Matty Jones out front. He was our round 1 winner. Have we got Adrian Loretti out there tonight? I can't see. Oh, yeah, we do see Adrian's name in there. Currently P6, so he was our second place finisher last week. And Joe Daly at the moment. I can't see Joe's name out there, so he's a MIA this week. Scotty?
Well, it looks like we do have a new entry from Andrew Lydon. I didn't see that name last week, so it's good to see new drivers joining in. Carl Pickering didn't necessarily have a great opening stanza to his Formula 3 SRW career, but we'll see him try to turn that round here again this week. Bradley Hudson, I thought, had a reasonable race last week. Not too much to complain about, so look for Hudson once again to show things. But most importantly here, fellas, the journey tonight, it is 1 hour and 20 minutes worth of racing. It is the endurance round of the series early on, and it's a tricky track. Motegi, this is what is normally used as a MotoGP course.
And which Motegi are we on? We're on the full course.
Full course.
No, the V8s were just doing the Motegi East. It sort of cuts in and does that little fiddly stuff over the top. I think that would have been a bit crazy in these cars. So this is the version where it sweeps right around the outside and uses all of the track. Don't use those little dinky bits in the middle that are frustrating in the V8 supercar. Adam Simpson has put himself up into P3 with a nice handy lap there. With a 143.14. He's 0.04 of a second behind Darren Fahey at the moment. Matty Jones still with a massive advantage,
the trucks actually went here last season and used the oval layout. Heading down the main straight at this point in time, I'm just trying to get the track map up and sort of give you guys a guided tour, because they actually go under what is the oval layout. There's a bridge throughout the track, and where that bridge goes overhead, that's actually the oval course.
Yeah, well, that's it. They're saying that I was doing some research there before. It was built in 1997 by Honda as a part of their efforts to try and get Indycar here. So that's what they were trying to do.
Indycar did come and race here, but it wasn't. Yeah. It hasn't been for a long, long time.
I think it was just the showcase race that they did. They actually got them out there for it, for the big launch of the track and all that, and they raced there, and that was it. Yeah.
They cross over there. That's the oval circuit right there. You're now looking through it.
That's it. Well, it was an interesting thing about the design of this. So again, it's got both oval and road, but the funny thing about it is they actually can't run both at the venue at the same time because the pits and the track access is combined. So to use the oval, you've actually got to cross the road course to get onto it, onto the front pit straight. So they can't actually operate both at the same time, mate. It's one or the other.
But it's one of those similar venues in terms of IndyCar that's you talk about road courses that generally you can get sort of a few different races out of. We'll have a look at Indianapolis, the whole month of May, and the prestige that's dedicated to the Indy 500. And remember back as well, way back when for Honda, IndyCar was, going through these cycles of it wasn't part of the Formula One World Championship, it wasn't part of the Formula One World Championship, and laps led by any one particular driver. That statistic at one course was just changed over from an IndyCar driver who'd led 481 laps of the Indy 500.
That's right, to Lewis Hamilton. I saw that on the weekend.
Yeah. So it's most laps led by one driver at one individual course. Now, that used to be
that was because it was Indy. Yeah, that's right.
Well, it's kind of easy. You go there for 2 years, and if you've led, two years worth of start to finish, plus a little bit more, you've led the most laps of any Formula One driver at a course. Not the case anymore.
Well, it was one of those, again, obscure records that, Hamilton's now added to his book again. I mean, love him or hate him, you got to give him credit as a driver. He has, been at the top of the game and
earning respect for him again. It's very easy to learn to hate a driver when they're at the top of their form. They're dominating everything. It's a little bit the way with Shane Van Gisbergen at the moment. What's your opinion on this?
But it's the same thing. But it's to talk about the car. He's in the best car, but people neglect to think that how did they get that thing to being the best car? Well, that guy would have had a fair amount of input into turning it into that car. So I think
they've still got a teammate in identical machinery.
That's right. And you will see those guys that just love the battle. And I think Hamilton is one of those guys. I think Russell actually found himself a bit shocked, sort of, around 5 or 6, and he was ahead of Hamilton going, hang on, and he's in a no-lose situation, really. So, if he beats Hamilton, it's like, wow. If he doesn't beat Hamilton, well, he's up against Hamilton,
Remember, we were talking earlier on the stream, for those of you who have stuck around for the TCRs, well, this just in, Oscar Piastri won't be joining SRW to race for Locked On Lads.
Oh, no. Has he put out another statement?
Their social media might say otherwise. Their social media is lying.
I was reading something.
Andrew Lydon and Adrian Loretti just had a huge moment in the pit lane exit. They had a huge accident. That's Troy Dooley. Sorry, my apologies. It was Troy Dooley. It was Troy Dooley and I think Adrian Loretti. No, it wasn't Adrian Loretti. I'm going mad. Forget it. Forget I said anything. So Troy Dooley's pulled down the inside. I think he's just trying to let the traffic go, and then he's trying to merge in straight into the side of another car. Now, as race control, are they going to review that? That's an interesting topic of discussion.
It will be interesting. Because I don't think the front left of that car was any good there. So, we'll have
it was Andrew Lydon that he did make contact with from Troy Dooley.
Yeah, and Andrew stayed out there on track, so maybe his car...
No, Lydon's had to reset the pits and go again.
Okay.
Now,
we'll keep an eye on that. But one of the things I was going to say, talking about the Piastri thing, was it was interesting that Alpine decided to release that on their... announce it on their Twitter. And I think they're saying in Australian time it was like 2:38 in the morning. So Piastri was never going to reply to that at that time.
Oh, is Piastri at home at the moment? Surely he's following the Formula 2 circus.
Suppose you're right there. But then his response was pretty emphatic and sort of come out, he's said, that, well, his contract hasn't been signed, and then at the end of it he's gone, and I won't be racing for them anyway. That's the way it read, so perhaps they were trying to put a bit of pressure on him to sign.
Or they went for, we've lost a little bit of face here with Alonso going away, but that's okay. We've got Piastri. We can save some face here. We can make ourselves look fantastic. Because look, if Alonso makes way from that team for a driver of Piastri's talents, and they do well with it. They look like absolute heroes.
Well, it's interesting too, because I mean, Daniel Ricciardo hasn't had a great run at McLaren, and that comes into the fray as well. There's a lot of hype around, is his place secure?
But there's no way that's going to Piastri. There's no way that's going to Piastri, because Award's in the mix.
Exactly, you're right. Ricardo Award, and yeah, that's right. But again, there's apparently, from what I've read, it's all of the outs in the clause, in the driver clause for Ricardo, are all in Ricardo's side. There's no outs for McLaren. So it'll be interesting, mate. It's a silly season, and it started early. So
they wouldn't lose anything by swapping them, by sending Award over to McLaren F1. And for Ricciardo's benefit, I don't think he'd lose any face by going across and running an IndyCar. I think he'd gain something, and it would be one of the first ever opportunities we get the opportunity to compare a V8 supercar driver versus a Formula One driver from Australia.
Unfortunately, I think Ricciardo, when he made the move to Renault, and he struggled that first year, but the second year he started to get some results. Different era, of course, dominated by Mercedes and Red Bull, but he was starting to get a car built around his style, around him. And then he jumped to McLaren, and they'd already spent a year and a half, 2 years building that around Norris and Sainz. And then Ricciardo comes in, and he's driving a car that's already set up completely different, that doesn't suit him. I think we're seeing the same with Red Bull at the moment. Remember, Perez at the start of the year was gunbusters in the Red Bull, confident and on top of it. And then as the car development has come in, it's been tweaked more towards Verstappen's style, and Perez doesn't like it anymore.
Yeah, I don't know what to take away from that. I mean, Perez is...
It's interesting discussion. We probably should get back to the F3 action on here. I know we are talking Fs of a similar persuasion, but we have got 15 minutes of quality, but there are some times starting to pop up on the board. Matty Jones straight to the top with a 43.1, and he's full second ahead of Darren Fahey.
But it's a second and a half slower than his practice time. So his practice time says to me that it may have actually been, as I believe this is Matty Jones coming to the line at the moment. We'll see if he can improve on it. It is purple right across the board, which would mean improvements. No.
3-1, no, 42.8.
Yep. So he does improve just slightly, though. So fuel coming out of that car at this stage. I believe this is another fixed series, so it's about being out on qualifying and running the whole time. I did actually find that out the hard way in my IndyCar exploits this week. Went out early for qualifying and just thought, screw it. I want to get up. I want to walk away. I want to take a moment, come back in, sat down on the rig, and the track was 2 degrees cooler. And you go, well, you can't compete with those times. There's nothing I could have done.
Oh, that's it.
It's heartbreaking. It's crushing.
You made that decision to have a little bit of a break, and you were confident that your lap was quite good. And we've seen how many times this happened in F1, where the cars that out there that put that last lap in get the last of the track ramping, and it's worth tenths. And when you're battling for tenths and hundredths of a second, it's any little edge like that could sometimes be all that separates cars on a grid.
Yeah, but the difference here being that in IndyCar you get one shot. That's it. You don't get to go out, cycle the tyres, have a crack, come back in, recharge the battery, change the tyres, go again. It's nothing like that. You've got one and done. So. Because if I had the opportunity, I would have had 2 digs at qualifying. Would have gone out early and gone out late just to sort of test the waters and money. But that's life. That's the way it is. And anyway, such is life. Moving on. Like you said, time's coming in across the board. So Matty Jones still, his fastest lap at this point in time was the 42.8 that we just saw, 43.378. So only half a second in at this time by. There is half a second from Faye back to Byrne, who's jumped up a whole bunch of spots. So guys struggling to fire up the tyres consistently. That says to me whether or not guys might have made a mistake on their second laps. Another half second or so taken out of Matty Jones's fastest lap, so he will continue to improve. Stay out there, guys. Keep the tyres going. In fact, in about a minute or so, if you're finishing that lap and you get halfway through the lap, you go, oh, there's nothing in it. come back in, slap a fresh set of boots on, fire them up over the course of 1 or 2 laps. Get back out there. You might go quicker.
Buddy, have a look there, buddy. I think we're losing the top of the timing on there again. You know how it's normally got the headers at the top and the time left in the session? So I can't see that at the moment, buddy. But we are about halfway through this qualifying
just past halfway
session. Yeah, so a good evening to you out there, Leaky, mate. It was an entertaining TCR race there, buddy. Team Greg were looking awesome there for a while, buddy, and then you fell by the wayside.
I was waiting for the position gains to start leaking in their direction.
Faye's lost the front wing there. That's going to put his qualifying back. So, as you said, buddy, to get... Oh, no, he's going to try and stay going, is he?
Is he trying to get back in a pit lane?
I think he is.
I don't think...
Because he can keep the fuel down, he can do the repair.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is at worst, drive it back to the pits.
Yeah. So, okay. There'll be a penalty for an unsafe pit entry there as well.
So you'll lose 40 seconds here of just sitting static, waiting for the thing to fix itself and all the rest.
That is rather interesting. So, at the moment, it is Matty Jones, Darren Fahey, Daniel Byrne in P3. There's only a 10th separating P2 to P3. Then there's another 10th back to P4. Another 10th back to P5. Half a 10th back to P6. With Bruce White pulling out a 43.8 as well. So, wow. And then we go a half a second back to P9. So, it's pretty tight there at the top, mate.
So, just have a look at this. So, P number 1 is in turn number 5 on that track map. MJ, that blue circle you see, is on screen at the moment. P2, P3, well, Darren Fahey, we saw him spin around. He's just come back out of the pits. P3 has just crossed the line. Daniel Byrne just ahead of Fahey on track at the moment. P number 4 and P number 5, I thought, no, P5. So basically, what you've got is the guys that were first at a pit lane and have continued on are sort of where Matty Jones is. It's the next sort of couple of cars are actually the faster cars that are actually out on the track at the moment. So it's all about track position. They've done the most laps. They've got the tyres fired up a little bit. That's a huge lock. It would not surprise me to see Matty just back off a fraction here with a huge lockup like that. Let the tyres fractionally cool off and go again for it on the next lap. You don't have to set purple laps every time you're out there. That is not necessarily how qualifying is done. You do that every time, you're probably going to make a mistake somewhere in the middle. He locks another brake.
Well, it's one of those things that they talk about in F1 again. You know, some tracks, if you push too hard in Sector 1, Sector 3, your tyres have got nothing left for it. Now, I don't think these things quite chew it up. I don't think these things quite chew it up the same, but I think your explanation is more right. If you lock it up, overheat the tyre, it takes a few corners for it to normalise again, and you've got to show a bit of patience, or you just end up keeping too much heat in that tyre and it doesn't perform the way it should.
Well, and for Matty, I mean, again, if he's down in the middle sector here, if he gets to this first sector and he's potentially down on his best lap, he will know. He will have overlays that tell him so. He will have a delta somewhere that says you're up, you're down, you are whatever. What's the point? What's the point in continuing to take more out of those tyres? Try and set yourself back up.
That's right, but you've got to retain heat in them. So, you know, it's I suppose that's a fine line and, you know, a gamble sometimes. But definitely we see in a lot of cars, you know, the moment you put the tyre on and you get it up to temp, you know, you're only going to get a couple of laps of its premium top-notch performance, and then it'll start to lose a few tenths. That's why you're going to get that fuel down, keep coming in and allow yourself enough time. But the problem is, we know that these things take a couple of laps to get the tyres up to temp before you can really push in them. So you bin the car in quali and then you've got to come back out and waste another couple of laps to get it back up before you can push again.
Well, I would say that means with 12 minutes in the book in qualifying right now, that would mean that effectively you're either on your warm-up lap now and the tyres are just about ready to go, or you have missed it. So drivers will start putting their best times in. Have a look at Matty Jones. Down Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3, Sector 4. Purple, Sector 5. That baffles me. That absolutely baffles me that he's pushing on.
I think you may have more got it right, buddy, where you said he just got out of it for a few sectors there, and now he's pushing near the back. Again, just because you've been the first part of the lap doesn't mean
He's
you
off.
can't learn something from it.
So that lap's
Because
an abort now because he's now got picked up a 1x. So iRacing will immediately delete a lap the instant that you've broken track limits. He's now done that. Adam Simpson, currently in P2, is just behind him. And Matty Jones has said, yep, that is it. Qualifying is done for me. So he will not continue on with his qualifying attempt. In the meanwhile, Adrian Loretti from nowhere puts 8 thousandths of a second on Adam Simpson. Now, Simpson is on a flyer. This is going to be a hot lap, I think, for Adam Simpson. He's coming up on Dean Sinkovic. Sinkovic has a great mirror, uses it quite well for traffic management. Does he want a little bit of a draft, though, does Adam Simpson? Where's he going to position the car? This is critical. This is hurting him.
Well, he's got 3 orange sectors at the moment, so he is down on that top. That's the 4th orange sector. So Bruce White has got a couple of green sectors, though, so a couple of PBs. So he might be able to move himself up a little bit further.
Carl Pickering's having a fair go at it. He's improved in his first and second last sector at this point. He's on the run to the finish line. As it stands, drivers will now be starting their final laps. There is no way, once you cross this finish line, you will get 2 laps in. So this will be it for a lot of these drivers. This and one more. What have they got left to offer us? Here comes Adam Simpson. He's going to just about throw his lap. Pickering, I believe, just improved. He's set a new personal best. Simpson's going to be the next one across the line. What has he done? It's a 44.7. So that was his cooldown lap. Expect that timing chart to all of a sudden start to glow in Adam Simpson's favour. May not be purple, we're looking for greens. Have a look at Loretti though. Green in sector 3, green in sector 4. Loretti's on a flyer.
Just trying to find your feet out there, and these boys. Carl Pickering's already got 2 green sectors at the start here, so
Loretti was on a cooldown lap. So Loretti picked up a couple green sectors, made a mistake. He backed off. He's going to have one more crack. Or is he done? That looks slow. Yeah, he's done. Loretti is done.
Well, he's got about 10 seconds to get across the line and start another lap, so perhaps just, cruising back. Out there, Dean Sinkovic,
it's still
couple
going.
of green sectors. Yeah, Adam Simpson at the moment.
Look at Pickering. Pickering's starting to come into his own. He's starting to tick off green sectors again.
Well, it's good to see the guys are, using the entire qualifying, trying getting their handle on this car and make the most of it. So that Carl Pickering coming around the back.
So we'll keep an eye on the times as they continue to run their way through. Pickering is now, I believe, coming out of the second to last corner. So there's going to be up the hill, left, right here, and that's it to the end of the lap and across the start-finish line. So this will be it from Carl Pickering, a little bit wide at the last corner. Adam Simpson's on the way into the pit lane. He is done. So his qualifying session's done. P3 is the best that he will go. Pickering improves, grabs 2 spots at the flag. Dean Sinkovic behind him has got 3 green sectors. Make that 4. Sinkovic from P11 improves his time, but not his place.
He jumps Carl, or he was already ahead of Carl there, so...
Yeah.
Just outside the top 10 for Dean Sinkovic, but so far we haven't had to mention Spinovic at all, so he's driving straight and keeping it going, mate. It's good.
At the moment, we'll be keeping our eyes on Darren Fahey, who is on his run to the flag. What's it going to be for Darren Fahey? Is he going to improve for himself? Daniel Burns on his run out of the last corner. Fahey, all of a sudden, at the last possible moment, Darren Fahey jumps from P number 4. He's into P number 2.
5 hundredths ahead of Adrian Loretti there. So that's a great jump from him. I think Daniel Byrne also... 43.6.
Keep your eyes on. We're not done here.
Late,
yes, we are. Sorry, my apologies. The last guy that I thought was on a lap was Andrew Lydon, and he will bring it into the pit lane. So qualifying went down to the wire. 1 hour and 20 minutes now on the clock ahead of you. It's time to roll through the DSL Welding Services starting grid. The qualifying results unfortunately failed to load at the moment. There they are on screen. Matty Jones, 2 races, 2 poles. He'll line up on the front row alongside Darren Fahey. Fahey didn't have a great last week, found trouble in both of the races, still managed to recover himself for a reasonable race finish off alongside of Matty Jones. Adrian Loretti is going to be off the inside of row number 2. 8,000 separate our row number 2 drivers between Loretti and Simpson. That battle will go down to the wire, you can be sure of that. Daniel Byrne, Bruce White, a row number 3. Andrew Lydon, Bradley Hunson, row number 4, and rounding out your top 10, Nathan Verney. A huge way off the pace for Verney this week, but always strong in the longer races. Keep your eyes for him. And Troy Dooley, his first qualifying lap in SRW, came a buster before he exited pit road. We'll see if he can stick that one together. Dean Sinkovich off alongside Greg Johnson. Those guys absolutely never ever come to blues out on a racetrack ever in their lives. They'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Carl Pickering and Steven Sinkovich, 13 and 14. Safety car drivers at the rear of the field for this evening, Stefan McCartan and Greg Barber.
It's going to be an awesome race, buddy. Our Enduro for the F3s. So we're probably talking 2 pit stops, buddy. And be interesting to see if anyone elects to take tyres.
Well, I think you got to at some stage. They just fall way too far off over the hour and 20 minutes. We are going to go the distance here tonight. Who is going to leave here with control of the field after turn number 1? Is it going to be Matty Jones? Jones is actually, I believe, off the outside on the run down to turn number 1. Will be the rubbered side of the road. Loretti will be immediately in behind him. Just chilling at this point in time. You'll hear the engines start to climb.
Is anyone going to make a big move, buddy, do you think? It's a long race.
There was a couple of drivers that got huge launches last week. Lights are out. We are green, and Fahey got a huge launch. A Leclerc-style move to block it from Matty Jones. And around the outside goes Fahey. Will he be able to hang on to this one? Yes, he will, just about. Loretti's going to slot in immediately behind them. And the drivers will make it through turn number 1 without incident for the first time tonight. Matty Jones under assault already from Darren Fahey, and I heard Loretti lifting off just a fraction there, so Loretti might already be playing the fuel save game. Get immediately up and underneath this rear wing of Darren Fahey and see what he can do from there. Jones parks it on the inside of the road, still looking to hang on to that one, will lead us down underneath the bridge for the first time tonight.
That was interesting there. Adrian Loretti and Darren Fahey, both part of Kitten's Racing there, and I think Adrian could have maybe sent it, but maybe thought a bit better and didn't want to attack his teammate a bit too early on there.
So conservative racing, an hour and 20 minutes the journey. That's what the drivers are going to deal with. They'll be sweating hard at the end of this one. If you ever thought sim racing wasn't as difficult as real life racing, I'm sorry, you've come to the wrong screen. It absolutely is. It is physical sport.
Well, look, some of the direct drive wheels out there, and that's, you set it pretty heavy where it requires quite a bit of force. But you're right, mate. I mean, just that constant use of your feet, the brake, moving your arms, it can be a bit of a cardio workout. And we're not even talking about motion rigs here, buddy. Just the effort of concentrating can be, quite good for health benefits. So I think that sim racing is an excellent tool, not just for races, but also, to keep old farts like us from getting bored, mate. So.
Yeah. That's what I'm going with. Yeah. Look. Instead of how about buying that new treadmill, how about we buy new racing equipment? How does that sound?
Yeah, well, that's right, mate. You got it. You can get just as good a workout. Oh, Matty Jones has just checked clear of 1.2 gap, second gap over Darren Fahey at the moment. So things just starting to settle down. Being an Enduro, we might get a chance to talk a bit of shit tonight, Scotty. So you might have to think up some good topics for discussion, mate.
Well, I think we've already got. I don't think we need to move past Formula 1 because we've both got some opinions, I think, on that one. We're both quite opinionated.
Well, look, I've been a Formula 1 fan for a long time, even before Drive to Survive, and I think there's a report out on the weekend, today or yesterday, saying that Miami was an absolutely crushing success and they made, a shitload of money.
I think even though everyone complained about Miami, we're still talking about Miami, aren't we?
Oh, dude, I still think back to Jerry Springer, right, to explain a bit about America, and that is they asked him about the people that went on his show, and he turned and said, well, 95% of Americans wouldn't be seen on my show at all. He said 5% of 260 million people is a lot of people. And I think that's the way it works. You know, if Formula One can even just get a little piece of the American pie, it's such a big pie.
Logan Sargent, who might be in the Williams driver market to replace Latifi. So we'll see.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Piastri has flat out refuted Alpine, and remember the original plan was maybe for Piastri to go on loan to Williams. Now they're talking about De Vries might be on loan from Mercedes to Williams. So there's a fair bit going on in that driver market.
That's not a loan, though. That's not a loan. That's staying within the Williams stable. That's like saying, here we've got a Formula 3 driver. You can just borrow him for the weekend. Like, it's just no. That's a bad comparison. What am I saying? I was trying to make a football comparison at the same time. That fell short. Then I tried to make a racing comparison. Don't make two comparisons at once.
Well, Kevin Magnussen, he got back in, with Nikita Mazepin getting dropped with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, so that shook things up, and he got a drive that he never thought he would. Nico Hulkenberg raced in one of the Grand Prix as well, didn't he?
Yes, but Hulkenberg was a COVID fill-in driver.
That's right.
Yes, but I think everyone's sitting here and looking at Zhou Guan Yu and they're like, this isn't really working, this isn't doing things. I think under the surface they are. Well, forget that he's selling merch. I reckon the Chinese market are lapping that up, and I don't think for a heartbeat. He could be P20 in the Drivers' Championship behind the Williams, and he'd still be selling merch. He would still be a success.
True, but if he was fighting up the front, it would go absolutely bonkers in China, and F1 would absolutely love that. Again, it's a global sport, mate, and you can just see that. No, you can see the appeal, and we talk. I remember years ago in a course looking at Americanization of sport and the media, and a lot of American games are criticised for being short, lots of points, so it's flashy. But Drive to Survive, it has just brought another spark. I know the drivers didn't agree. I think, but hasn't Verstappen actually signed and said that he will do some interviews in season 4 now? Yeah,
but I think it's going to be more of a I'll do an interview anyway. It's on the my thing, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll talk when I'm available, when you're not interrupting something that's important to me. Anyway, we've got a replay, I think, coming our way. Dean Sinkovic and Carl Pickering are going toe-to-toe, and I think Sinkovic was behind Pickering at some stage. Has Pickering moved up a couple? No, Pickering's right where he started. Don't mind that. So this is Sinkovic on the rundown.
Just lost the rear.
That's turn number 1. That is turn number 1 right there.
And he's gone for the inside there, try and get away. Greg Johnson going around the outside of him there, and now he's going to have to deal with Stephen coming back. So on for young and old in the Sinkovic camp once again, buddy.
So Bruce White and Lydon are still going toe to toe. We'll see something about Carl Pickering, I believe, here in a moment. No, we're back live pictures as it stands at this point in time. So. Best battle pack on the track at this point in time. P2 to P3 is half a second between Darren Fay and Adrian Loretti. Then you've got a little bit of a gap back to P4 with 9/10 of a second. But probably the closest battle pack is Andrew Lydon to Bruce White. Brucey, I think, will just be biding his time, losing a little bit of patience, using those years of experience that are up his sleeve for good old Brucey.
Oh, well, he's been, one of those guys go-karting, and I think he's on his second rendition of a sim where he built it all up and then sold it, and now he's built it back up again. He's got direct drive and all the goodies, and is loving it. I've been trying to get him involved a bit more, and it's great to see him racing here for SRW. I think he'll be racing in the Radicals again tomorrow night as well. So
talking about him, he continues to close in on Lydon. Lydon's going to be in trouble here in a second, because Brucey's coming. A little bit of a mistake there for Bruce. Slightly too deep. Camera focused on him for a fraction of a second too long. You looked
Upper
up.
commentator's curse.
Yeah, not a full one.
Yeah, that's right. Half one. But look, this is keeping them quite battle. I mean, Matty Jones is checking out in front, 4.6 second gap back to Darren Fahey. But I mean, it's still pretty close here in the mid pack. We've got Daniel, Andrew, and Bruce all fairly close together on the track. Darren, Adrian, and Adam ahead of them, all fairly close together on the track. So, and then you look behind Bradley, Hudson, and Nathan Burney. There's only a second separating those two. So we've got little battle packs happening, and
it's going to stay and soar all night long too, as the tyres start to go off and where these drivers are in fuel. Maybe it might just be the case that a few of these drivers are just sitting there, just letting the competition burn through the tank, get aggressive on their tyres, just be a little bit more conservative with the throttle, and don't pick it up too aggressively. We'll hang out and we'll see where we're at in half an hour's time. It's not about going out there and winning the race right now.
Well, Matty Jones is setting a blistering pace up in the front. The last 2 laps he's been in the mid-42s, and the guys behind him are mid-43s, so he's pulling out a second a lap at the moment, and is just growing in confidence. So it's very much a car that's all about confidence, and you've got to get those tyres up to temperature, and once they're up, and you can push that little bit harder, it's about knowing where those limits are.
Let's maybe cast our eyes a little bit further down the track for these guys. I'm just going to go and grab the series schedule, because it's important to know, where are we heading, what's coming our way in the future and whatnot as well, because that's important for these guys. So next week, we'll stay. So the first 3 rounds of this series are from Japan, Okayama, Twin Ring, Motegi, Suzuka. Make that 4 rounds, as we'll head to Fuji International Speedway for our second enduro of the season. Week number 5 will be Circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya. Will be a sprint race at night, that one says, but I don't think Catalunya actually has lights around the track, so it'll be hard for these guys to do night racing, so we'll keep an eye on that one, get back to you about that one. Hungaroring, well, talking about Formula 1 from the weekend, race number 6 for these guys will be from the Hungaroring. Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, or Interlagos as it's more commonly known. Great track for overtaking, great track for racing, and the circuits that we've already seen from the TCRs so far this season will round this out, with Canadian Tire Motorsport Park and Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve will be the final 2 races of the Formula 3 season.
Wall of Champions to decide the championship. That's rather appropriate, isn't it?
Yeah, Matty, look, if you've got some ideas of taking yourself out in any race, wipe yourself out in the Wall of Champions. That'll at least be spectacular.
I might have kissed the tyres there on last Sunday a couple of times, because I was quite happy actually that they'd gone back to letting us hop the curbs a bit, because I think when we did season 1 and the officials and the B8s, they did a little edit, and I was doing some practice, and I'm looking down, how come I've got 25 off tracks? Because every curb hop was copying me a 1X, and then when we jumped on it last week for a bit of practice, found that they changed it back. So it's great to see, though I don't know if the F3 is going to be doing much in the way of curb hopping around there.
Oh well, all else that ends well. All's well that ends well, sorry.
But we've just seen how fragile these machines can be, But you can see there Stephen sort of getting a good feel of the car there as he was throwing it through the left-right combo.
T-cam? How good is this T-cam? This overboard, over-the-top sort of shot, looking over the driver's helmet, seeing what they see. You can see the cars, the helmets sort of bobble around a little bit. The drivers generally won't be able to see so much of that, but you do see the driver's helmet turn. Of course, again, that's a simulated thing. That's actually not real. That's if a driver has a VR set up, you won't see their head turn aggressively right, aggressively left. It's just sort of a simulated thing, but it's a real nice feeling to watch them turn the wheel. You can really get a feeling for how aggressive they're being on the wheel as a driver trying to back things up, drive it a little bit more smooth. If you see more turning of the wheel, that tends to mean they're pushing just that fair bit harder.
Or you're fighting with the setup. That's the other time you'll see people hacking at the wheel if you really can't get it to turn in. But at the moment it looks smooth on board here with Adam Simpson, one of our Fishy Motorsports runners. It's awesome to have the Fishy Motorsports boys with us. I know they've been a big part of sort of the planning and sort of the rule books and everything behind the scenes, and it's teams like that we want on board, buddy. And
particular,
awesome, yeah.
from the Radicals last week. It was actually fun to go head-to-head with Adam Simpson. I just saw Bruce White try to shove the nose down the inside of Andrew Lydon. So Bruce has decided it's time to get a little bit of a hurry on. There was a sniff of an opportunity there. Again pokes the nose in, and Lydon missed the braking zone, ran a little bit wide. Now they're going to go side by side on the run up to the top end hairpin, turn number 10. It's a long way around the outside for Brucey White, but Lydon's provided the space. Great driving, both drivers, and Brucey White walks away with P6.
Good respect from both guys there. Andrew did try to do what he could to try and maintain it, and he did keep the inside run there, but Bruce had great confidence to be able to go around the outside and find that grip on the outside line. It was good to see.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? It's an enduro round. We're 15 minutes into the race at this point in time. What's the point in just racing that guy really, really hard? And he could see as well from where Bruce positioned his car, he was ready to do the cutback. If Lydon wanted to force the issue and dive it deep and in aggressively on the brakes, he was prepared to let it go, try and do the old over-under. So that's good driving, and that's an experienced, wise head from Bruce White.
Well, that's right. I think you hit the nail on the head too there before, that he thought it's time, I've got to make a move. I think he's just watching the guys ahead, pull away a little bit, and Andrew was starting to hold him up.
And immediately he's put 9/10 of a second immediately over Andrew Lydon. So White still had some pace to spare. Now he'll be able to show it. Daniel Byrne at this point in time is about, 2.5 seconds up the road? So 3 seconds up the road.
It's starting to get pretty close between Bradley Hudson and Nathan Burney back behind these boys as well. Saw that closing up. I think it's just spaced out a little bit. But I think Nathan's starting to close up on him there. Yeah, look at it.
So continuing to keep our eyes out for battle packs up and down the field. Don't forget, if you're tuning in, where are you tuning in from? How are you doing there this evening? What's the weather like? Because we've got a global audience. The benefit is, if you ask Chat's going to tell you the weather's cloudy, the weather's sunny. And the benefit is, we've got, however many people watching at this point in time, well, we're going to get 10 different weather reports. So, SRW's Global Weather Report, proudly brought to you by Chat.
And Shibby out there trying to keep us on track. He reckons we were podcasting there for a bit with our F1 chat.
You've got to have fun with it. You absolutely got to have fun with it.
Of course we are. And I see your comment there, no more dad jokes, so that's fair enough.
No, I spare you the dad jokes, Cowie, just so I can harass Shibby with them. So up at the front end of town, we were talking about Bruce White obviously getting a move on and starting to make some pace, but it's not just Bruce White. Danny Byrne is starting to look to hunt down Adam Simpson, and Simpson has actually fallen out of the tow from Aiden Loretti, but Loretti has hung with Darren Fahey. So I still question whether Loretti might be doing some fuel saving.
Well, look, it's still pretty close from 2, 3 back to 4. There's only 3 seconds in it. And, Matty Jones, look, he's just dictating the pace at the moment and driving consistently lapping sort of half a second or more quicker than the rest of the field. But you can see that the rest of these guys are into a bit of a groove, and I think that is part of it too, Scotty. Sometimes we get caught up a little bit too much in the battle and push the car a little bit hard and get yourself in trouble. So when it is an enduro round like this one, sometimes you're better off running your own race, mate.
Absolutely never. It doesn't happen ever. Don't know what you're on about, Cowie.
That's right. But I suppose, there's always, 20 other guys out there that you've got to beat, isn't there? So you've got to be better than them.
I would like to point out to anyone that's actually watching from a car racing world, sim racing is a lot cheaper. Come join us. Just saying.
Yes, until you start to, really learn about sim racing, and then it becomes expensive. You want all the goodies.
Yeah. But there's never,
there are pretty entry level units there, and then you get sucked into going. I suppose you get sucked in by the game, you get sucked in by the community, you get sucked in by the simulation.
The main thing I'm going after is if you come down the pit road to get a fill up on fuel, you get a fill up on tyres, you're not paying for it. Well,
that is very true.
Rubber's okay. Rubber's rubber. But the real expensive stuff is actually the fuel at the moment, obviously. Bradley Hudson and Vernie right next to each other on track at the moment. We'll have to check that battle out here in a few moments as they're going toe-to-toe. That's Bradley Hudson. That's the view up front end, but Nathan Vernie is looking at a very different picture. He will get an opportunity to potentially have a look here on the run through turn number 8, down to turn number 9.
You were talking about Nathan a bit earlier there, buddy, saying, that he seemed the pace, in the qualifying and that. Perhaps he's not that familiar with this layout. I know that it'd probably throw me because I've never driven a lap here. Yeah, well, I'm used to the East layout, which the V8s have done a couple of times, and then the full layout would be something different. But we're seeing now that Nathan's starting to show a bit of pace, so I think he's starting to get the hang of it. He knows his markers now. I suppose that is one advantage of being a good enough driver to go out there and circulate and keep the car in play and learn on the job, so to speak.
Now, if you said go out and give me an hour and 20 minutes on the oval, done. I know that oval track. The oval track here is actually one of a really, really fun track to go racing stock cars out. Vernie's weaving. He is, what were you talking about? A little bit of show yourself in the rearview mirror of the car ahead.
Bit of peekaboo.
Yeah, he's playing, letting Andrew Lydon know exactly where he is. He's trying to make himself as visible as possible. Not super worried about sticking himself in the draft. Does that mean potentially overheating issues? Surely not.
I wouldn't think so, not this early on in the race, but I think maybe it's more about a few little fun and games, trying to, get Bradley's attention, but Bradley is just driving smooth and straight. I'm not seeing any deviation in line here from Bradley. He's being confident and precise about where he's putting the car. We haven't seen him really go defensive or anything yet at all.
And I think Lydon's coming back to these guys as well, so that gap may start to close up. Brucey's doing a phenomenal job. Bruce White has actually closed the margin. It was... Oh
no! So Bradley Hudson has spun. So he's lost the rear, I'd say.
Yeah,
that's put him to the back of that pack, but
I'm going to replay
talking him, mate. Commentator's curse again.
Surely up in a moment you'll get a understanding of what's going on there. And the critical factor is Vernie's had to take avoiding action as well, so he's the both lost a whole bunch of time. So this is the run through turn 7, turn 8 is the right-hander, and then turn 9 here will be the left-hander. You'll get an understanding. And the rear's just got away from him on the braking, of course, burning fuel out. Less weight in the rear of the car. A little bit more lively as they get lower on the fuel.
Yeah, I think he just maybe, tried to carry a bit too much speed in and carried a bit too much brake, and the rear got away from him. But that was a good bit of avoiding action from Nathan Vernie. Could have really easily lost a wing there and have to pit. So, some good work.
And I mean, Vernie's lost a whole bunch of time, but spot gain, so...
Well, and, still got a car that's not broken. So...
I'm actually really curious for Brucey because he is, you mentioned it, he was starting to make time. He's brought the gap down ahead of him to...
about 1.5 seconds, I think that is at the moment.
He's done a phenomenal job. So this is Darren Fahey now on screen as we jump away from Matty Jones. So he's started to pull away just a little bit from the Kittens Racing teammate and Adrian Loretti, the 85 machine. And then Adam Simpson in the Fishy Motorsports entry just in behind these guys. So...
Well, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think we've tried to talk about fuel saving in these cars before, and it doesn't seem to be something that you get a lot of advantage out of. And we're probably talking half the fuel burn of something like the big V8s and that. So, the benefits of lifting that a little bit earlier or clutching it in are not as beneficial as the speed gain, of staying in it that little bit longer. So I don't think it's going to be a factor, but it'll be interesting to talk to the drivers on the podium tonight, and we can throw those questions at them, Scotty.
Yeah, but it's strategical. Basically, the way that I think of it, this is what I was thinking within the Radical race at Spa last week. Because of the layout of Spa, you can't really get away. You need to be sort of 1.5-2 seconds a lap faster than somebody to actually break the toe. because anything less than that, you're always just going to be sucking them back up to you on the straights. So generally, when I'm in that situation, I know that if I'm within sort of that range of the car ahead, I'm just going to sit there. I'm going to, particularly if I know that he's generally fractionally faster than me, I'm not going to send it because A, I'm less likely to pull it off because he's generally just going to be able to drive around the outside of me. B, it's going to slow the pair of us down. And C, well, I know that if I'm within the same sort of margins as the guy ahead of me, let's create an advantage some way. Let's create that offset. If I'm not going to be going forwards, let's create it somehow. Now, with oval racing, it's not just fuel that you'll do it on, it's tyres as well. And the F3s are another one of those cars where the tyres do come into it. So ultimately, for any of those guys that us was sitting there, and Brucey was for a little bit, was just being patient with Leiden, just sort of sitting there, feeling him out. He's potentially putting another tooth in his strategy bow, to use a term, but B, figure the guy out ahead. Watch his braking markers. Where does he look weak? Where am I strong? So get a few laps in behind him of doing that. Well, now Brucey is actually really starting to hunt down onto the rear wing of Daniel Byrne, and he got within that second marker, and immediately we talk about aero. Well, Draft is going to pull him all the way back up on. Adam Simpson, you saw him trying to fight with the car, trying to stay with our lead runners as well. He's got hopes of a podium there tonight. Darren Fay just at a 44.034, 43.876. Adam Simpson, 43.501. So Simpson's closing on the battle ahead. 44.8 from Daniel Byrne. Bruce White, 44.0. So White is absolutely hunting. And now he's all over the back here. There's going to be a dive on for sure on Daniel Byrne. It's just a matter of when.
There was a lock up there from Daniel, and that sort of gave Bruce a nice little sniff, and his eyes lit up. He had a little go at it there. But no, these guys are going good. I did find it interesting in what you were talking about there, Scotty, that you were talking about sitting in behind them as a tactical reason. So it's not so much fuel saving, it's more about, picking your moment, studying your opponent. So, and I think just getting back to that, the fuel saving, I don't think it's really a factor in these cars. But then again, our 20-minute race, even saving a little bit might make a difference.
Yeah, if you're 1 lap short over the distance here, and these, sure, it may not be a huge deal, but 1 lap of difference is the difference between P2 and say P8 potentially.
Or a rear grid for the next race if you don't have enough fuel to get around home too. So, which both of us have got tomorrow night, don't we?
Yeah. If I make it home in time, but we'll see about that.
Okay, buddy. Greggy Leakey out there. The Spinovic brothers want a safety car. Apparently, you're hearing that in the chat, buddy. They need a breather. Well, we are only 25 minutes into an hour 20 race, so they better maybe get some pit crew to start providing some refreshments while they're in the ring. I think both those boys are VR runners too, so might be getting a bit sweaty under those helmets.
I was going to say, is the vomit bucket on standby next to them? Is an hour and 20 minutes too much to ask from the Sinkoviches?
It's a long... I don't know, is that a long stint in VR? I've heard guys are doing that and staying in it all day. I must admit, I get queasy reading a book on a bus, so...
Andrew Leiden has just done his fastest lap of the race. He's just on 44.0, the 2 cars ahead of him. Brucey's just made a mistake, 44.8, and Daniel started to open that gap up again. So Leiden's going to close this one in. We're going to end up with the 3-car battle pack very, very quickly. So
and a couple of separations separating second, third and fourth as well, so those guys are just maintaining that little gap at the moment. So I get the feeling that 2, 3 and 4 are maybe just working together a little bit here, not really pushing each other, but behind that, Daniel, Bruce and Andrew to join the fray. I think those boys are going to be at it tooth and nail.
And, well, Brucey maybe started to burn off the sheen on his tyres because all of a sudden Daniel's responded quite well and sector time starting to favour Daniel Byrne. We'll see if Bruce can continue the assault.
He was half a second quicker last lap, I think. Bruce was half a second quicker than Daniel last lap. Let's have a look at the lap times this time around. It was a 43.6 versus a 43.9. So Brucey finding another couple of tenths, 3 tenths there.
We'll come around to complete another lap in the books. in a few moments. We'll get another reading of the lap times as they come on by. 43.7 for Daniel, 44.1. So margin's starting to open up again. It's sort of just plateaued yet again. So fresh air seems to be the key for Daniel Byrne.
Well, it's quite interesting. It's as you said, I think it maybe is those tyre window, and it's very easy to push hard for 2 or 3 laps, and then you overheat those tyres, and now you've got to, deal with them feeling a bit shitty for the next couple of laps.
So
before you can get them back and have a go again.
Question for you here, Cowie. Do we think one stop to the end of the race? I'll actually have a look at our fuel mileage in fuel for.
I was thinking 2. We've already seen these guys have to splash and dash in some of the longer races last season. So I'm thinking it's going to be 2 stops unless they've given them 100% fuel.
75% fuel is the number.
I would be thinking it's going to be 2 stops, mate. But as you said, I think this might be one of those races where they've got to take tyres. And that's going to create a whole interesting kettle of fish when these guys go out on cold rubber after doing, 20-odd laps with a nice, warm, performing tyre.
Well, who's going to be the first to blink? Who's going to be the first to pit? All of that yet to come here, and closing in, we're just shy of half an hour into the race at this point in time. Speaking of first to blink, first to pit, it is Bruce White who'll be the first one down pit lane, and he's had a real good go at the pit lane entry. He's attacked that one quite heavily. Now there's a huge bit of fresh air in between Andrew Lydon and Daniel Byrne. We'll see if Lydon can start to close that gap, because Daniel Byrne's just set another fastest lap of the race for himself at a 43.791. So Byrne is now getting on with it.
Oh, that is rather interesting. Greggy Barber out there in the chat saying that he does a 24-hour series in VR, so he has no issues with VR. So do we need a bit of can of toughen up for the Sinkerbitch boys, do we?
I was going to say, I wouldn't want to be Greg Barber's partner after that. Could you imagine the VR headset stench? That would be horrendous. You've got to clean that thing regularly, surely, Greggy Barber.
Yeah, but I think, when you do stint racing for those longer races, you're not jumping on the same sim, buddy. So I don't think anyone else is going to have to put his VR helmet on.
No.
Himself.
That's fine. That's fine, but it's the same as like sharing helmets, right? They all have their own stench. Everyone's got their own helmet musk, if you will.
Well, it was one of those things in cricket, that was if you didn't have any other equipment, you brought your own protector.
Yep, the Hector protector.
No one was lending out one of them.
Or you wore it on the outside of the undergarments, or you wore 2 pairs of undergarments.
No one was lending out their box.
Never clean your headset. Never, ever get that musk out of the headset. That is a no-no, apparently, according to Greg Barber. Well, I feel sorry for your partner. Mine would murder me if I was to do that.
I was going to say, I think I've got about 5 microphones, and I think 3 of them are rusty. So, probably I should clean the grill of them instead of just buying a new mic.
No, don't do that. The joy, when the headset gets all musky, you just go out and buy a new headset. That's how it works, isn't it?
All right, so Bruce White has come out 57 seconds down. He was about 16 seconds down, so we're talking a 41-second transit. That's how much time it's sort of cost you.
He's absolutely committed to that 2 stops. So he's gone for it. He's gone, yep, I'm definitely on that strategy now. So he's now put the head down. The tyres will start to come up temperature halfway through this lap. They were struggling. He's gone for the undercut. We'll see if he can make anything out of it.
Do you think he's gone new rubber there?
I would say so. I mean, he's come in. Why not? He was struggling.
If you're going to have to pit again, but yeah, that is interesting, because it does look like he's pushing fairly hard out there, and we do know that cold tyres, you've got to be careful for a couple of laps. So, all right, well, Matty Jones is pitting now, so maybe we are coming into the fuel window. So it will be interesting to see if tyres are an issue.
I will
Keep an eye on these pit lane times, and see if anyone spends much longer than someone
Darren
else.
Fahey
in
is
the
going to come
pits.
in, and I believe Loretti's going to follow him, and Simpson. So 2, 3, 4 are in. Keep your eyes out. Will Daniel Byrne do another lap? Daniel Byrne is in as well, so everyone now starting to pit. Has the undercut work for Bruce White? He's going to be low on fuel compared to everyone else, and we're about to find out if the pit cycle is going to work in his favour. He's P9 at this point in time. We're expecting Fahey, Adrian Loretti, and Adam Simpson to all come out ahead. Matty Jones's transit time was 27 seconds end to end. Bruce was 29 seconds end to end. 27 for Adrian and Adam. Darren Fahey has had a stop and hold penalty. Darren Fahey has sat static for so long now. He's continuing to drop. He's still in the box. That has got to feel like an eternity. That's nearly race over for him. He's relying on a safety car now.
Now, when we were looking at those cars in the pits, I noticed a few there that did not take tyres. So one of them that I did see was Greg Johnson, who had a 7.37 second pit stop without tyres. So if we have a look here at the other times, the only times that are sort of blowing out Darren Fahey, that will be that big penalty that you mentioned there, because that's an 8.83 second stop with a 40-second hold.
He's definitely spared because it's exactly 40 seconds longer than everyone else he spent on pit road.
Yeah.
That is
the only car there that's got an unusual amount of time in there was Carl Pickering. He had 28 seconds as there for the pit. So I'm wondering, is Carl the only guy that's taken tyres?
Well, no, because if you have a look at Bruce was 29 seconds end to end. Everyone else is about 27, 28 seconds. So I would say most drivers might not have taken tyres. Bruce was struggling, so... And he is back about where he was now that the tyres have come up to temperature. So he may have an opportunity to have a crack at Andrew as the fresh rubber comes to him.
And do you think that there was probably only a couple of seconds in it? That because aren't these one of those cars where you've got to put the fuel in first and then do the tyres afterwards?
I think you do both. I think you do both at the same time. Because
I
know with most open wheelers, that seems to be the case. Oh no, we've heard.
Yeah.
Somebody else has come back down to the pit lane? No, sorry, it was Nathan Verney. Verney went one lap longer than everyone else. So Verney will now drive through the pit lane and will be the last car to come down and serve their first stop of the evening. Verney is just 10 minutes shy of making it to the end from here. Oh, that's a safety car.
We've still got 45 minutes left, so yeah, it's close. I mean, he was back in that battle pack for a while, so he's probably able to save enough fuel to get that extra lap out of it. But yeah, look, I called it at the start. I thought there was no way these guys were going to do it in one stop. So it's just going to be interesting to see who took tyres, who didn't, who's going to take tyres in the next step, the next pit stop for the run to the end. Will we see guys go a shorter stint? You know, maybe don't take tyres on that first pit stop. Run a little bit longer, run just into the window, fuel up so you can get home and go tyres. It's still up there to talk about, buddy, and unless we see the pit stop, it's hard to see if the tyres come on or off, isn't it?
I think you've got to run it out. Well, Bruce is in an interesting spot because he's come out and he's basically just chalked up immediately back in behind Andrew Lydon here again, and he's no closer to Daniel Byrne than they were before. So in terms of things, he's actually dropped about 4 seconds to Daniel Byrne in terms of the pit cycle, but he's come out behind Lydon. So that's tyres. That says to me that's tyres. That's probably tyres.
Oh, well, hopefully he makes it onto the podium and we can have a chat to him about that.
I think you'll be chatting to him about it anyway.
Oh, I'll probably have a chat behind the scenes when I talk to him. He was supposed to come down today and bring his steering wheel down for me to see if my new round wheel would fit on the button box. He's got one of those SimCore button boxes. I want to see if it will fit. And then he, contacted me, said he couldn't make it down. So, but that's a good thing because he's out here racing instead.
Speaking of pace, didn't Adam Simpson pit from P4?
He did pit from P4, so he has done a nice little jump there. Adrian Loretti, P3 he was, because it was Adrian Loretti was up in front of him. So I wonder if something happened to Adrian in the pit stop. He did...
Oh, defending as well, Brucey White just got a little bit of a wiggle on the straight. They were looking for who's going to go down the inside, who's going to take the outside. And
Looks like he's got him though.
Brucey is down the inside, still hanging around the outside is Lydon. Will he have another crack at him back down the inside? No, slams the door shut. Move done, Bruce White. Continue as you were. And they, together, have now taken a second out of Daniel Byrne as well. Steven Sinkovic in the 67 machine has just requested a tow. Will race control call for a safety car?
Well, he's already towed, so I'd say that... well, we didn't see any safety cars come out in the TCR race, and seems that race control's happy to let the guys run and not bunch it back up again. So, a bit of grass there, just a bit too wide, and that car is broken.
Who needs rear wheels? They're not used for anything, are they?
That's the margins. I mean, Toddy and I were watching the sprint cars last night, and at Lernerville, there's no wall on the back straight, and the line by the end of the race was pretty much right up onto the crest of the hill, and if you went an inch further, as I think it was Tyler Bish went an inch further and ended up rolling over and off the track. So that's the margins you're talking about. And
got bored of racing and decided he wanted to go for a roller coaster instead.
Well, poor old Stephen, found out about what happens if you go a little bit too wide, much like Tyler did last night.
Something's happened. Something has just happened to Darren Fay. He's in pit lane. So...
He's had a big moment.
He's back in pit lane. Something's happened.
Yeah, so... He has apologised to the guys, so I don't know what's happened, perhaps.
He was around a lapped car at the time, so I'm wondering whether or not he's had a moment with, it looks like it was P9, sorry, it was P13. Who's in P13 at this point in time?
Pickering.
It's Carl Pickering. So whether or not he's tried to go one way around Carl Pickering and Pickering's tried to let him have the other side at the same time, you know how it is when both drivers try to give the other one the exact same bit of room at the exact wrong time, they just swap.
Well, Fahey has come back out, so he's, I think maybe there was some damage there and he had to use a fast repair.
He might have been in the final sector and he's got lucky.
But that has put him back in P10, and he's a fair way back from Troy Durley, about 30 seconds back from Troy Durley in P9, so he'd be hoping maybe for a safety car to try and bunch things back up again now too.
Well, keep your eyes on one driver in particular. That's Bruce White, because he's starting to set the timing charts alight. He's one of the quickest drivers out on circuit at this point in time, and he is starting to close back in on Daniel Byrne once again. So I'm going to say that was tyres, chaps.
Oh, well, it will be interesting. You can see that Matty Jones still in the 43s, the quick alien that he is. And then we've got the next four guys all running in the 44s on the last lap. And then we've got the next four guys all running in the 45s. So it's going to be interesting. These are the questions that we can pose. But if you are right and you did take tyres, they are up to temp now. And Bruce is on the charge.
Well, when he came out of the pits, he was 6 seconds. Once the pit cycle completed, he was 6 seconds back from Daniel Byrne. That has halved itself in only a couple of laps. And he had to pass Andrew Lydon in the middle of that. So Bruce White on a charge, and last week we looked at him for a fraction too long, so let's stop looking at him, shall we?
Look, we've got to keep looking at these guys. We can't be scared of the commentator's curse, mate.
Can we just commentator's curse Matty Jones and spice it up for a race win again? That was fun watching Matty Jones drive through from the rear of the field to the front last week. He had a blast too.
Oh, he did. Well, he's running away with it at the moment. He's got a 23-second lead and has just stamped his complete authority on tonight's race. And as a result, has barely got any airtime. So, unfortunately, when you check out, sometimes the stream does the same thing.
Somebody add 2 degrees of wing to both front and rear end of his car and see how quick he is then.
Thanks for the shout out, Reese. Great to see you out there listening. Reese DeGooey, he's one of the guys racing with us in the V8 Supercars. And
a man who had a shocking night out on Sunday was Reese DeGooey.
Yeah, he didn't have a great one, but sometimes you get caught up in things that you can't do anything about. Sometimes you invite them in too and get yourself into the wrong messes, you know. But
Cowie, are you inviting people to come punt you again? Is that what I'm hearing?
no. I was quite not overjoyed. We'll say pleased to see that for the most part. You know, the racing has been really good, and you know, plenty of room given. I mean, sometimes when things happen, you know, sometimes you don't have control of your car at certain opportunities and certain situations, and you end up, you know, I had to choose left or right on Sunday night. I chose right, and left was the answer that I wanted.
Well,
That damaged my car, but you know, but that's what happens sometimes, and they always say you always try to go to the rear of the car, so that because generally they're going to drive forward, not reverse. You got to go around them.
Yeah, with ovals, it's generally the higher the banking, the more you want to go to the high side of the oval. So the more banking, the tracks tend to do what they call self-cleaning. I just heard a replay sound. What are we looking at?
We are on board with Bradley Hudson at the moment, running in P7. He was battling with Bruce White up there at the front, but had a big moment, and you know, has fallen back a little. He's got Troy Durley behind him, but he's got a 20-second gap to Troy there. So he, it's Nathan Burney behind Bradley. Yeah, so this battle is still on. This is the battle we were watching earlier, Scotty, and it's back on for young and old once again.
Was it these two? I don't think it. Yeah, it was. It was.
It was these two. Yeah.
Vernie had to take avoiding action around Hudson before. This time Vernie does want to sit in underneath that rear wing of the car ahead. We'll see if he can close it down. So that battle is going to continue to evolve.
He's lost it, and Vernie's going to claim that, and a good avoiding action once again. So unfortunately, Brady may be pushing a little bit hard then to hold that spot, and sometimes that's all it takes. And tiny little mistake, and we keep saying it, Scotty. How often do you go out there and you're lapping and practicing and you're chasing tenths and you go and make a mistake and you lose seconds? It seems so unfair.
But that's sport, isn't it? That's cricket. You go out there and you go, oh, I've got this one. I'm going to hammer this one to the fence. Caught. Well, now you've got to wait until the next time. That's it. Batting over.
Yeah. That's more like when if you get it wrong and hit a wall or something, it'll take someone out. But, you know, I'm talking just in your lap times, or when you're trying to chase down, you know, you can see that relative coming down, you can see the gap, the guy you're chasing down. Adrian Loretti here trying to chase down Adam Simpson. So you see he's been chipping away at him a little bit, and then you make one mistake, and who was that? Off in the weeds there. Stephen Singerbridge up in the weeds there. But yeah, you make that one mistake and all of those tenths you've been chipping away at disappear in a big puff of smoke, you know, as you spin the car.
And the closer you get, the more excited sometimes. Oh, Greggy Johnson.
No. Oh.
Greggy's done a good job. He'll rejoin the circuit.
Unfortunately, Greg's already a lap down, back in P11. Darren Fahey behind him in P12, so but that's about 30 seconds back, so Darren really lost out with his incident there before. And I think Darren's had another crash by the looks of it too, according to SDK, so... But, I think we're going to have to look at it, and Darren didn't have a great round one, and looks like he hasn't been able to improve his luck at the moment. He's just gone in a bit hard. He's arrested nice speed out of it there. He did really well not to turn that around before then, Scotty. And in the end, it's cost him time, but there's still an intact car there.
And the thing here for Darren is, 30 seconds up, he's past Carl Pickering. But now, and he's finished his final stops. This is kind of deceiving with how far back he is. Because, he's 30 seconds off the rear bumper of Greg Johnson, but after their stops are done, he's going to pop out ahead.
Well, he's got pace. We know Darren's got pace. You know, he was right in the mix of things last season, and he's back again to have another stint. I know that round 1 wasn't really what he was looking for, and round 2 hasn't turned out that way either, but we still have over half an hour of this race remaining, and it doesn't take long for your fortunes to change in an enduro round like this.
Well, we are now approaching. We've passed the halfway mark. We're, past 40 minutes through this race. So, for my liking, a pit stop any time now will get you to the end of the race, guaranteed. Maybe it's time to come down for that fresh set of boots if you want to push on hard towards the tail end of the race. Will Bruce White be potentially considering
lock
that?
up there. Big lock up there from Bruce, but he's running in P5, and that gap to Daniel Byrne is now down to 3 seconds. Looks like he actually has lost out the last couple of laps. He's been a little bit slow, has he?
Yeah, he's been gaining time the last couple of laps for sure. He was half a second quicker on the last lap. Previous lap, 3/4 of a second. He's heading down the back straight now, so a couple more corners we'll find out. Spin ahead will be Carl Pickering. No, Steven Sikovic parked out in the dirt there again. So
Steven's
might
on
be
a bit of a torrid time here at Twin Rings Motegi tonight.
Might be
on
time
another
for Steve to
moment.
come in for a set of fresh tyres. He's just trying to get that thing facing the right way. Steve, save the burnouts to after the race, mate.
Well, he has been missing out a bit of airtime tonight, so maybe, you've got to get that SRW logo out there on the stream as much as possible.
Oh, he's still struggling with those rear tyres. The thing does not want to settle underneath him.
Well, I think he had about 10 goes trying to get that around, so he's probably lit him right up, trying to, right the car. And
So
then
you
you've
were-
overheated them, and they're going to be
Fine.
dog-like
Got
for a
some-
while, right?
Got some more laps here back again for you, Cowie. So on the last lap with that lock up in the middle sector, it does look like Bruce did lose 0.2 of a second to Daniel Byrne. But he's already taken half a second out of him in the first second. Oh, Steven. Oh,
That
come on,
looks
mate.
that looks like a brake bias issue to me, because the rear of the car is locked up.
The rear tyres are overheated.
Yeah, so he's just got no grip in the rear now, and he's really got to try and settle it down for a lap or two and get them back into that working window, because they're too hot at the moment. Who's that behind him there? That looks like Nathan Burney coming around to lap Stephen. Looks like Nathan has got by Bradley Hudson with that big moment Bradley had, and that gap's out to 2.5 seconds, so that was probably about similar distance after Bradley's big moment, so he hasn't let Nathan get away from him just yet.
Good news, lads. Brucey is under 1.5 seconds to Daniel Byrne, so P4 is just within spitting distance. That's the margin that we're looking at on screen, and it is going Bruce White. He has taken a huge chunk of time out, a full second out of the car ahead. So a bad lap for Daniel Byrne, a 44.797, so 44.8 plays a 43.782. So a second coming Bruce's favour, and if that doesn't inspire you, nothing will.
I think Matty Jones has paced that last lap, so he's found some confidence, and it seems to be more likely if he makes it up to those top 3 steps. You can ask him that question about tyres, because I think you might be right here, Scott. He's showing a bit of performance at the moment.
Or the other guys are just starting to lag. So whether or not he says, you know what, I can make this entire last half of the race on one set of tyres. So maybe he has done his tyre stop. So maybe when we finally complete this final stop, it will be Daniel that comes out behind him, and they'll have to start doing the chasing on Bruce, and Bruce will have the better rubber underneath him. Cold tyres, will they play a factor? Who will take tyres? Who is going to make a mistake? That will all be within the next 5 or 10 minutes, you start to assume. Wow, what a lap for Matty Jones, 43.1. So he's all of a sudden pinned the ears back once again.
Look, Matty is just setting, lap after lap at blistering pace out in front. That gap is 28 seconds now, so he can almost afford a pit stop and, come back out and still be in the lead of the race. So it's getting pretty close there. 11 laps into this stint. it looks like we're going to probably go about 47 laps in total if we don't have a safety car. Obviously
thinking,
time dependency, but so we've still got about 16, 17 laps to go. So
if I was in any one of these drivers now, I would pit
Yep.
now. I would pit now, particularly if I'm one of those drivers that's starting to just lag a little bit on tyres. The car's not steady, the car's not safe on
tyres.
Just go.
Yep.
Because the problem is, the longer you wait, the worse it's getting. It's not getting better from here.
But we do know that, you know, there can be a significant advantage speed-wise with less fuel in the car. But
that'll be offset by the tyres. So
by the tyres, yeah. So it's going to be interesting. Adam Simpson at the moment, he's holding a 4-second lead over Adrian Loretti. Daniel Byrne is 12 seconds further back. All of those guys are lapping fairly close to each other now. We've got Matty Jones with a 43-1 last lap, and then we've got the next 7 cars all doing 44s.
So, gaps continuing to close. Who are you guys cheering along at home? That's what I want to hear. We've got a multitude of people watching right around the world, multitude of people tuning in right around the world, multitude of people with probably different drivers that they're here to support. Who are you watching along for at home? Who's your driver of the night so far? Obviously, Matty Jones has got a lot to say for himself, but the drive from Brucey through the field has been phenomenal. Really, really impressed with that, but at the same time, Adam Simpson with the pit stop smarts getting himself ahead. Sometimes it's not pace on the track that matters, but it's pace somewhere, and the pit stops is where you can find that key margin.
Now, I know talking with Brucey last week, he was a bit nervous of qualifying too high in that first race, sort of not having raced with any of the guys. So I think, you know, after last week and the racing in the F3s and the Radicals last week, he's, you know, got a bit of a confidence to maybe go out there and push a bit harder and try and race with some of these boys. Because, you know what it's like when you first jump into a new league, the last thing you want to do is, you know, take someone out and maybe get a reputation as a wrecker. So, you know, maybe drive a little bit within himself in round one. Found himself at the front in that second sprint race when he made a mistake. But this race, he seems to be driving with a lot more confidence and prepared to attack and make some moves.
Well, here comes pit stops. We mentioned it might be time if your tyres are starting to flak. Bradley Hudson was falling slowly and slowly further back. He'll come down to pit road, really grab himself a fresh set of boots. Go dancing. That's what we want to see, I think, from Bradley Hudson.
Well, there is a bit of dancing going on here from Bruce White as he's closed right up onto the back of Daniel Byrne. Less than a second separating these two guys now. And we can see that Bruce really confident under brakes. That concertina effect coming into effect as he closes in. And trying to put the pressure on.
And then all of a sudden the aero takes over. Slipstreaming. He'll zero in on the rear bumper of the 808 of Daniel Byrne up ahead. The margin now down under 0.2 of a second. Let's not talk about the margin. You guys can see the margin at home. I'll weave all the way back out to the right here. Try and get through this next chicane. Open it up as much as possible. And I tell you what, Bruce has done a phenomenal job there. He's continuing to close. They say there's a lot of aero wash in these cars. Bruce seems to show that he's got the pace to overcome that aero wash. He's got enough grip at those front tyres, and he is closing. And there's another long straight here. He's right there under the rear wing is Brucey. He might just be too far back for a dive at the next corner. I think he's lifting out just a little bit, trying to be conservative. Doesn't want to brake too hard, lock some tyres, but he's lurking. He's all up in that rear view mirror of the car ahead, and Daniel Byrne has got to start looking out the rear view mirror. He was looking out the front just a few laps ago. Not a care in the world. All of that has changed.
Well, that's what the game is all about. It's not just about being faster than the guy out there on track. It's about, you know, putting the pressure on, knowing where your strengths are, where his weaknesses are, and, you know, maybe that's why we see a few of the guys play peekaboo. We'll see other guys really sort of, you know, pull out and maybe make a half move. And a lot of that's just about, you know, getting in the mind of your opponent. It is sometimes as much a mind game as it is a physical game out there.
Now, Bruce has gotten up to this position once before, and then the tyres started to fall off. So that could be something that'll start going back in the favour of Daniel Byrne. But it took about 3 or 4 laps of Bruce being right underneath that rear view rear wing before it started to be an issue. So he's got to try and get a hurry on now as Brucey. And again, down into the last sector, they'll come through the flip-flop left, right. Sorry, left, right. Here and back across the start-finish line. And he's there. He's just about there. Touches the grass. Starting to get a little bit unstable. He's pushing margins. But Bruce is coming.
Looked a bit loose there from Daniel on exit, but he just got the power down good enough there to stay
both of them
on
lock
the
a brake.
charge.
Both of them lock a brake, and Bruce got a better exit that time through. Gets all the way back to the right-hand side of the track. Now centers himself. Now he's looking. He's got to show the nose. He's got himself down there and underneath. Bruce White into P4. He'll take that one away.
That's a great move there. That was a great move. At first, I thought he was a little bit too far back, but he was able to sort of get on the brake. They both sort of started to brake at a similar time, but then Bruce was maybe able to just come off the brake a little bit, roll a little bit deeper into the corner, and claim ownership because Daniel left the door open.
And I tell you what, Adrian Loretti up ahead is flagging. His last lap was a 44.8. They were 0.7 of a second faster than Loretti, so the Loretti margin is starting to play back in Bruce's favour. There is 21 minutes left in this race. Has Bruce got enough time to go hunting already? Is he going to underfuel the car? Is he going to go for that little bit of splash and hope he can save a little bit if he gets close enough? Is he going to take tyres again? It's going to be tight for all these guys now.
I think so. Well, look, he did 18 laps in that first stint, Bruce, versus 20 laps for the guys around him, so he's going to have to be the first to pull the trigger. So it will be interesting to see if those guys decide to stay out a bit longer, run that leaner fuel, or, as you said, they come in a bit earlier, put some new rubber on as well, and give themselves enough time to, bed that rubber in for the run home.
Well, he's already cleared Daniel Byrne, and he's broken the toe straight away. Last time they came down here, Bruce White was behind. This time, there's a huge margin between the two drivers. 45.7 from Loretti. His tyres are shot. They're gone out the window. He wants to get rid of them as soon as possible. He'll probably be making his way down pit road this lap. 44.0, 1.7 seconds. The margin from Bruce White, and he completed an overtake in the middle of that lap. So he is coming.
That's it. And it's interesting. It's good to see that these strategies are playing out tonight, buddy. I mean, for so long I've been commentating the F3s for the last season where tyres just weren't on the menu unless you were a Scott Callahan alien. One of those sort of guys, or a Matty Jones alien. They were the only guys that were even tempted to take tyres because they were the ones who could drive a decent pace on those 2 laps where you got to get them up to temp again. But this race, we're seeing tyre dead, mate, so I think you're right. Tyres definitely are on the menu. It's just you've got to be brave. And
Bruce just had a big lock-up going down into the far-back hairpin at turn number 10, so he is pushing. He is driving as hard as he can. Maybe he's seen the lap times, because that margin has crumbled again. Another second has come out of Loretti ahead, and he is just lighting up the sector times for the 2 cars ahead of him. Now, if you're in Bruce White's shoes, do you just not take tyres at this next stop? You've already taken your schedule of tyres, I think, for the night. Maybe you don't take them at this next stop. Maybe the car ahead takes them. Is that worth another 4 seconds? Plus 2 seconds static in the pit lane. That's 6 seconds. He's nearly there.
It's interesting you say that, but we're seeing that, 36 laps for these tyres seems to be a bit too much for some of them. And Bruce is going to be at about that. If he continues on, it'd be 28 laps. He would have had to keep those tyres if he stays on, or 28 or 29 laps. So it's starting to get into that window where the performance starts to be questioned. Yeah, it will be interesting. Is it worthwhile going tyres again?
Loretti's just shelved another second back. 45.3 back from Adrian Loretti that time. Guess what? Bruce White, 43.8. Starting to turn his best laps of the race thus far. I might be getting a little bit excited, but there's only 18 minutes left in this race, and has he got enough time? Well, at this pace, Brucey will be there in 4 or 5 laps.
Definitely closing in, buddy.
He's going to have to pit.
And, that's the podium step that Adrian Loretti's sort of standing on there. So that's a fairly juicy carrot to be dangling in front of Bruce White at this late stage of the game with those lap times, buddy.
He said he was a little bit scared last week, that he didn't think he had maybe the pace to be as far forward. I think tonight, as a coming of age for Brucey in terms of the SRW League, I think he'll look back at tonight and go, no matter what the result, I think I proved myself. I think I can go right now.
I think you're right, buddy. I don't know if I'd use the word scared. I think maybe a little bit timid in that first one.
Conservative?
You're racing with new people, yeah. Conservative's probably the nice politically correct word rather than going scared or timid.
More time!
That way.
Another second! 45.8 from Loretti. What's the time? 43.9. 1.8 seconds. Less than 4 laps to closing. Less than 4 laps. Bruce White will be there. Loretti has got to be running scared.
He is matching the time of Adam Simpson up in P2, who is also in the 43s. Matty Jones is still doing 42s, mate. So he's in a league of his own out front there, and he's just turning in lap after lap. But our focus here is with this battle. Bruce White closing in. He's got Dean Sinkovich on the road up in front of him, but I'm sure Dean will get out of the way, and maybe Bruce might even be able to benefit from a tow here and find a little bit more time too.
And Bruce has got another car. Dean Sinkovich, like you said, ahead of him. Carl Pickering, though.
Matty Jones is pitted, buddy.
Is in. So we'll start to see the rest of the field react based upon that. But Carl Pickering was just ahead of Loretti as well. So there was lap traffic for both of our drivers to be considerate of in this lap. Tell you though,
Matty taking tyres then? I don't know if we saw him take tyres there or not.
If Bruce pits this lap, he dodges the traffic. That could be a play.
It certainly could be. I don't know if anyone's helping out Bruce spotting tonight. Obviously, I'd probably be spotting for him if I wasn't sitting here calling the action with you, buddy. But none of my teammates racing tonight. I mean, Tyson had a bit of an emergency, couldn't make the TCRs tonight. Oh, there's Bruce. He's coming off. Does he loop it round?
No, he's got away with it. I think he's going to be okay. He just cut the grass on the way in.
As long as he doesn't get an unsafe hold.
You know what?
If it's an unsafe entry, he might get a hold there. That'd be tragic.
It won't be an unsafe entry. It might have been a slowdown, and the problem is you've got next to no time to clear that slowdown before you cross that line. If you have a slowdown when you cross the pit lane entry marker, when you've got to be up to pit lane speed...
He's holding there. I think there might... Is there a hold there?
I think there is too.
Oh no, Brucey. It's gone in a little bit too hot, and sometimes it's only that one mistake is all it takes, but that is definitely looking like a 40-second hold,
that's
mate.
A penalty. So I would say it might be an unsafe pit entry, it might be a slowdown. You have to clear, by the iRacing rules, you have to clear any slowdowns by the time you cross that pit lane entry.
We'll keep an eye on that pit lane time, but I'd say we're going to be right, and yep, 47.92, so yep, that's a 40-second stop and hold. And unfortunately, Bruce, that's going to put him back down in P8 now, and right at the back. That is horrible.
Oh, bugger. I hope he didn't get a speed. Radicals last week, I don't know if you guys know this. I think, Cowie, you would know it. But Brucey last week in the SR8 Radical, or the SR10 Radical it was, he'd get out of the way here. He's done a great job to let Matty go on by. But he was on track. He was actually doing quite well, and he went, I'm not going to make it on fuel. I better pit. Well, it went from one trip through pit lane to, I think it was speeding on pit entry was the first one?
Yeah, so he turned off
pit lane limiter.
No, it wasn't pit limit. No, it wasn't. It was
Spa
and crossing the line coming out of the pits.
Which we
and
did see.
At first he's driving around going, why have I got a black flag? And I'm going, did you cross over the line? Oh, I might have. And then he went in and pitted, and then he crossed the line again when he came out.
No, he released the
serving his penalty.
He released the pit lane limiter. Yeah, he had to do three separate. He had to do 3 separate penalties the last time at Spa in the Radical. The first one was unsafe pit exit. The second one I think might have been unsafe entry. No, the second one was for
He
speeding on the
told me
exit.
he cut across the line twice, but the one thing, he was a couple of laps down by then, so that meant that he had arms to come in behind and help him pushing me across the line so I could finish. Because I ran out of fuel on the back straight.
Yeah, but effectively he went from right there and in contention for a win, because he was only a sniff from a podium, and it went from, hang on, Brucey's in contention here, to 2 laps down without actually touching another car, which that's pretty rare.
He's shown he's got pace, and it's great to have you with us here at SRW, Bruce. And yeah, mate, you got nothing to be ashamed of. Unfortunately, you just cooked it a little bit into the pits there, and a couple little mistakes that probably cost Bruce a bit better finish in round 1 and 2, and maybe a bit higher standing on the ladder as a result.
Well, he's still got a shot at having a race here, so he's still got Bradley Hudson ahead, so hopefully he can climb back up in nab P number 6. So pit lane has cost 2 drivers tonight. It's been Darren Fahey and Bruce White, the 2 drivers that have had penalties applied to them on their way through pit lane, and both of those drivers will be needing to make some... The way that I look at it, though, at least I was fast somewhere. It was too fast, apparently, but hey, you take it when you get it.
Oh, look, it's just a bit of bad luck, and I mean, sometimes, you practice how you want to take them in, and sometimes you practice those margins pretty fine, and it's easy to make a mistake in the heat of the moment, I suppose.
It's so difficult to get pit lane entry practice on old tyres, too. Old tyres, low fuel.
That's right. And, again, I mean, we've all seen how the car can perform differently when it's got fuel in it, when it's empty, and you throw old tyres into the mix, you throw a hour 20 race where you've actually got to think about taking tyres in a car that probably every other race this in previous season and so far this season, tyres aren't even on the menu.
So much is made in terms of endurance racing about the pit lane and how to enter it. If you only have to look at Le Mans, Circuit de la Sarthe, and the pit lane there, and the kinks and whatnot in it, and how much is made of being able to drive the pit lane. It's so unique. Sandown has a unique pit lane. This place has a unique pit lane because it's got a flip-flop in it on the way in it as well. It's such a unique skill, and again, we were talking about it with the TCRs. You roll off on cold tyres. You better do your start practices on cold tyres with full fuel. And it's the same here. You've got to practice those pit lane ins, and then you've got to be able to adjust that for when you've got hot tyres. So it's been difficult. It hasn't gone a few drivers' way, but they'll recover from it and they'll get on with the job. Now let's take a look around our field and see at the running order. Obviously, Matty Jones has served his final pit stop, still leads the race by 23 seconds. Drivers who have yet to stop is Adam Simpson. Adrian Loretti has fallen back to 13 seconds now with those fading tyres in P number 3. Daniel Byrne has now got P number 4 quite well locked up, and I believe he's just taken a second out of Adrian Loretti at this point in time. So Loretti continues to struggle unless he's trying to fuel save and make it home. Could be the marker.
Certainly could be, buddy.
P number 5 is Andrew Lydon, who's actually had a secretly quiet race and snuck his way into P number 5. And Verney, who, again, we said was off pace for Nathan Verney. Well, P number 6, you don't sniff at those points.
Well, that's right. And Nathan's one of the guys that still keeps himself in the mix. If he makes a mistake, he'll just forget about that, get back in, keep driving. Because in the end, you can watch your opponents push hard and ruin their race, and they walk away with 0 points, and you walk away with more. Look at, get back to F1, mate. Look at the amount of points that Ferrari has left on the table in the last sort of half a dozen rounds. It's almost a bit scary, isn't it? And there were the memes out there where the, I can't think of her name, but the head strategist for Red Bull, might be getting a few more people looking her way, not just because she's a pretty lady.
Yeah, good luck taking her away from Red Bull.
Oh, I would be thinking so. Be something fairly ironclad there, keeping her in shackles with that team. Probably not in a bondage way, though.
it's starting to get late here in the eastern suburbs. That's the eastern
Well,
side of
we
the country.
I've only got about 7.5 minutes to go, buddy, so we are getting near the end of tonight's race.
I think
My
we're getting
race
near
laps is predicting 44.1 laps.
We're
Is
near
it?
the bottom of the barrel in terms of what we've got left in the tank. Well, the drivers have got left in the tank, and I think we've reached the bottom of the barrel in what we've got left in terms of the strain content as well.
Well, according to my race laps, it's saying we might have to go another 5 laps, but we've got 7 minutes to go, and you're talking a 2-minute lap. I think 4 is probably on the menu, buddy.
I think my cats have decided that it's time to be fed. Come on, guys, hurry it up. Count that clock
You're
down.
feeding your cat at this time of the night.
Well, they're not fed. I fed them earlier, and now it's bedtime, and they're demanding for food. So they're like,
I'm
Dad,
surprised you've still got a leg left. You've still got a leg left. They haven't scratched you.
I'd
Was
look
that a
out.
moment from Adrian Loretti going into the pits?
Is that potentially a penalty?
I was just about to say that, mate. I think it might be on the cards, but you can see these guys running deep here, trying to just do a splash and dash to get home. Will that be a 40-second hold? I'd be worried if I was Adrian.
No, he's got away with it.
He's got away with it. Oh. Maybe that was on the inside, because I know on a lot of tracks you get away with it on the inside grass, but a place like Canadian Tire is probably a perfect example. If you slide up, back on, across that white line, back up onto the track, which I did in an official, I tried to come back into the pits and I copped a penalty. What I should have done was get back out of the racetrack and kept racing and deal with the slowdown.
Would
So,
have been totally fine. Yep.
yeah, so maybe he got away with that on the inside there, but oh, Vernie's got a move done, so Andrew Lydon has fallen a well back there too, so what's happened there? I think Andrew's gone into the pits, mate. I think that's maybe what's happened. Yeah. So Andrew's gone into the pits, and you can see him just coming out there now, I think.
Oh no.
And Nathan Burney's got that done.
Steven Sinkovich requesting to tow. So night done for the 67.
Oh, I don't think he's going to have a repair left. We're having a look what happened. Is this that pass again?
Hang
Nathan
on.
Burney?
Hang on. Race control having a look at this. Hang on. We might get ourselves a last-ditch save.
Generally, they're reluctant to bring the safety car out with under 5 laps to go.
Never
Okay,
mind.
they're clearing him for tows. Yeah, I didn't think they would bring it out.
If
They
you
had
could
the
have a-
opportunity early on to do it, buddy, but yeah, within that last 5 laps, they're generally pretty reluctant. Let's have a look and see what happened to Steven Sinkovich. I won't call him that spin name again. We'll have a look and see what's happened here. But he's lost the rear. He's caught it again. He's lost it. He's caught it. That's something broken. Is that something broken?
Well, it is now.
Yeah. But I think it was wobbling a fair bit there, so I think something might have been broken.
It's not the cone.
then.
It's not the cone. He's deep. He's only hit the cone because he's deep. And then this is
Yeah.
just all resurrection.
Yeah, he's trying to get back onto the power and a little bit too much eagerness there.
I think he's had 3 goes at overcorrecting that, and on the 4th go it
Yeah.
finally killed him. Anyway, news. Bruce White now closing right in on the rear bumper of Bradley Hudson. Both of them have done their final pit stops, so this might actually be the final battle we'll actually see out on track.
Bruce trying to get back up to inside
Hang on, boys.
P7 it will be.
Hang on. Nathan Verney might have grabbed a spot by not having to do one more stop.
Oh, has he run long? Is he fuel
He's
saved?
run real long, yeah.
Yeah, pitted on lap 21. He went the longest of everyone in the first stint, and you said that he might have brought that into the cards. So I think maybe that pace where we thought he seemed a little bit off the pace, I think that might have all been deliberate here, buddy. And if he's got enough to get around for the cool down lap as well, remember you got to do that or you're going to cop a rear regret in the next race.
I taught him everything he knows. I'm so proud of him.
Well, it's going to be interesting, but he's still pushing on, so maybe he thinks he's got enough to get home.
So I think what's happened is Bradley Hudson's had a huge issue in the middle of the last lap, which is why he dropped off onto...
Oh no, but did Bruce get caught up with him then? Because Bruce is still behind him.
Bruce caught right up onto him, and I think that's why he caught him, so...
Okay,
yeah, because it was a 47-second lap.
Right, so thanks to DSL Welding Services. Again, have a look at this. Is this where he's done it? Just turned in and lost the rear. Yep, and he's held that nicely. It's well done. Well, it's about as good as you can do in that situation, I think. But yeah, closing right in, but I'd say we're probably on white flag now. We go back to the front. I think Matty Jones, no,
there's no way Matty Jones. We've got a white flag there. There'll be 2 to go from here. So we've got 46 laps into this race. So who's actually calculated for the extra lap here? My timing was showing me we were going to get yeah, so we'll be 46 laps. So we'll get 47. Yeah, 47, there you go.
So is that going to make it a lot harder for Nathan Burney? We have to keep an eye on that.
No way he'll get home now, for sure.
Well, he might be able to get home but not have enough for the cool down lap and just wear the rear of green for the next race. But there is that Matty Jones. Can we see? You can see Barney there. Couldn't see him. See if that flag is out.
That's generally a good sign. If he's not animated, then you can't really tell. That's generally a pretty good sign. You can't really tell there, can you, at all? He's on the left-hand side. He might be on the pit road side, actually, of the start-finish straight. Anyway, Matty Jones is about to cross that start-finish line. He's in the final sector. He's heading through the final flip-flop, so we'll get an eye on things here in a moment. Slow car out of the last corner with Kyle Pickering.
And here is the white flag. So we are on lap depth. There's the white flag. Barney finally into the action. And I think Stephen's explaining why he had to pull over. Adrian Loretti. We thought Adrian was in a bit of trouble there when Bruce was closing down on him. But he has weathered the storm, and it looks like he's going to retain third step on the podium. And Adam Simpson in Fishy, the motorsports machine in the middle there, he is will be coming around for that last lap now. Matty Jones has gone close to lapping the top 5.
Yeah. I was about to say, Dean Sinkovich, I think, was just trying to talk to Matty Jones of, hey mate, do you mind if I actually lead you across the line? Because the problem here is, and Dean wouldn't know this, is that Matty's received the white flag. So by Dean Sinkovich letting him through, this has effectively locked Dean into his finishing position where he is. The problem is, if he can't get back by Matty Jones, Darian Fahey, who I think is the next car, no, it's Troy Dooley's the next car on the road for Dean Sinkovich, is 7 seconds up the road. Well, if Troy Dooley now runs out of fuel, it doesn't matter. He will still beat Dean Sinkovich home because Dean Sinkovich will finish 1 lap behind. Andrew Lyden's out of fuel! Andrew Lyden's out of fuel!
No, that's Nathan Burney. He's slowed down. No, he's just slowed down to let the leader through then, I think. I think maybe he's in major conservation mode to get home. I bet you he saw the leader coming and he hasn't had enough fuel, so he's let the leader go through so that way he's got enough fuel for the cool down.
And the other thing is, I think Troy Dooley might be a fraction short. Could you imagine if Troy Dooley now runs out of fuel, Dean Sinkovich will be spewing that he let Matty Jones through. And that's just race awareness.
Wow.
Not necessarily. He could just be really idling this thing round.
He's saving every drop to try and get home and not get a rear grid for next race.
He's still rolling.
Yeah. But he would be clutching it in, trying to save 0.1 of a litre for where you've got to go uphill.
Well,
Well,
it's true. After the top end hairpin, it's all downhill, isn't it? So he's just got to get to turn 10.
clutch it in the whole way home. Wow.
He'll take that though from Nathan Verney. That's a P6 based on fuel strategy. On a night where you don't have the pace, sometimes you need to throw a spanner in the works of the opposition, and he's done so, and he's done it successfully. Great job to Nathan Verney.
Or you
Final
think,
few
you know,
drivers-
if there had been a safety car in that early part of the race, it might have been a master.
at any stage, any stage of the race. Forget it. If there was a safety car after the halfway mark, Verney makes it on one stop, and he's got a whole bunch of track position.
Yeah, that's right. And it looks like Bruce was unable to chase down Bradley there at the end, so Bradley Hudson hanging on to P7. Race control just giving everyone a bit of a cheer up there and commending them for the lack of incidents tonight. I don't know, us commentators would have liked a few incidents, maybe to spice things up, buddy. But we did have some good battles out on track, and in the end, that's what it's all about, Scotty.
Well, Matty Jones has said, you know what? These tyres are done. It's one of the benefits of sim racing we've already talked about this evening is that you don't have to pay for tyres, and I think Matty knows that he doesn't have to pay for the engine either.
Well, it was such a commanding victory from Matty. He checked out nice and early, had a little bit of pressure from Darren Fahey there into turn 1, but, you know, once sort of one lap had, you know, well, probably even half a lap had gone under, Matty had got a second clear and ran away with it. Alright. Enjoying his donuts out there. I don't think he's eating them, but he's enjoying them.
I'm going to have to say, guys, I do sincerely apologise, but I do have to be up at 5:30 in the morning, so I'm going to have to step out. If you want to finish off the interviews, Cowie, I sincerely apologise. It's been an awesome stream. It's been an awesome race, and it's great watching Matty celebrate. But yeah, I've got to go. I've got to be up early in the morning. So
yeah, that's all good, buddy. I gathered you might need your beauty sleep. You know, you've been a bit under the weather, so it's all good, mate. Well, all right. Well, if you want to bring up the final standings there for me, Toddy, and we'll read through and see if we can get a few of the boys down into the green room. The results coming up. Doesn't look like they want to come up on the screen there, Toddy. Okay, well, we do have Matty Jones finishing in P1 with a commanding victory of about 28 seconds, I think it was, over Adam Simpson in P2 with Fishy Motorsports. Adrian Loretti taking out the third step in the podium. Daniel Byrne was finished a fair way back there, but was in some good battles mid-race. Andrew Lydon managed to, drive a great solid race there, and a couple of the other guys around him, he may not have had their pace, but he survived. Nathan Verney, P6. Nathan with a fuel strategy, the only one stopper out there, and he brought it home in P6, so a great drive from Nathan there. Bradley Hudson in P7. Bruce White, after a great race there, just unfortunately cooking it a bit too hard into the pits and incurring a penalty there. So that was a bit rough for Bruce. Darren Fahey and Troy Dilley bringing out the top 10. All right, well, we have our podium in the chat, so we'll get Matty Jones in first and have a chat to him. Matty, well, you checked out in front, buddy, and got clear, and it was smooth sailing from there, buddy.
Yeah, pretty well. Not much to report on that one. They looked like the guys battling for P2 were going pretty hard at it there early and probably slowed themselves up a little bit, but we just had a nice clean race tonight. It was really good.
Well, mate, you were still doing some cracking times for pretty much most of that race. Did you really let off at any time, or did you have to try and sort of stay focused, trying to punch out those lap times to keep, things focused for yourself?
Around the back half of the middle stint, I started thinking maybe I might be able to do it on one stop, and then I was just trying to fuel save a little bit, but that didn't didn't pan out the way I wanted it to, so I just started going ham after that.
All right, so were tyres on the menu tonight? Matt?
No, I didn't take tyres.
Didn't take tyres at all.
I
We
didn't
thought that
take
maybe
tyres.
someone might have looked at taking them in that maybe that first stint and had rubber advantage at the end, but they would just you were able to look after them for the race.
Yeah. Like I was saying last week, like all the racing I've done in this car, I've never got to a point where the tyres aren't drivable. Yeah, it's like you can, if you have a look at my fronts at the end there, you can sort of start to see the graining of the canvas hanging out, and they were still fine.
Yeah, well, you were still punching out 43s towards the end of the race there, so certainly going to believe you on that front. It's just we thought maybe if there was a race this season that was going to bring tyres into the equation, we thought it might have been this one, but
Yep.
no, it wasn't. All right,
Yeah.
Matty. Well, look, give us a big shout out for your sponsors. We know that you're racing with the Senate Sim Sports boys now. Have they?
No. So it's a separate team. Same sponsors, same ownership. So Precision Performance Shop have their own setup shop, which is a really good setup shop for V8 Supercar setups for any of your dirt oval stuff. We do F3s, Porsche Cup as well. So yeah, if you're looking for really high quality competitive setups, that's the place to go. So yeah, I'm actually racing for their factory team now.
Awesome, mate.
Yeah. So it's a good step in the right direction for me. So just want to have a big shout out to the Precision Performance Shop sponsors in Transform Media, ProServe Finance, Sydney Computers, and CD Cinematography.
Awesome, buddy. Well, it was a commanding victory from you tonight, mate. Do we need to put some ballast in that car, get you at the rear of the grid, and make you fight your way through? Or I know you had a little mistake last week and it put you back through the pack, and you had a blast. So, you going to try and spice it up for yourself, mate, or are you happy run away with it out front there?
Potentially. Joe Daly was definitely missing this week, and he is mega fast. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of very, very spicy battles between he and I going forward, though.
Awesome, buddy. Well, we look forward to it. Thanks very much, and congratulations with another P1, buddy.
Awesome. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it.
No worries, mate.
Cheers. Bye.
Alrighty, let's bring in our second place man. Adam Simpson, Fishy Motorsports, P2 tonight, buddy. Didn't quite have Matty's pace.
Oh, mate, Matty's on another level.
Because we saw those lap times earlier, a couple of the boys, Darren and Faye, had a big move at him early on in that race to try and get in front of him. But once he gets out in front there, man, it was a bit hard to rein him in, and you had your own battles to deal with.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Once he got set into his rhythm and whatnot, there was no one catching him. But during that first in, I was just content to sort of sit back there a little bit and just watch the other boys and save a little bit of fuel and try and gain some on the first pit stop, and it ended up paying out in the long run.
Oh, it was a great drive in the end, mate, P2, and you had it sewn up pretty good there. We could see that Adrian was sort of struggling on his tyres towards the end there. Were tyres on the menu for you tonight, mate, or did you run them the whole length as well as Matty?
No, I ran them the whole length, mate. Like, I checked them as I come into the pits at the second pit stop, and they were still sitting at 50%. It's like, mate, there's not enough time left in the race to justify changing them.
Those couple of laps of trying to get him back up into that working window, it's not worth it.
I tell you, the setups this season 100% better, because like it only takes maybe 2, especially around a longer track like this, 2 laps to get them up going good. But yeah, it's not worth the extra time in the pit.
Well, it was another great drive from yourself, Adam. The Fishy Motorsports boys, we always love having you guys with us, and so here's another chance to let us know who gives you guys all the support out there.
100%. The Fishy boys love being here too, mate. It's good fun. First off, we'll thank West End Motor Group. They're a good supporter of ours and that. And DC Shades, Reflex Fishing Gear, Precision Sim Training, Infinity Designs, and then last of all, all the great boys at Fishy Motorsport, like a huge friggin' bunch of fellas and great bunch of fellas as well. It's great to be a part of them.
Oh, awesome, mate. Well, we certainly love having you guys with us, and the more of those piranhas we see out on the track. Have you worked out a way to get the piranha on the F3 yet?
I'm not too sure. I might have a chat to the boss and see what he says.
No worries, mate. Well, it's awesome having a chat with you once again, and a great drive tonight with your P2, buddy.
Thanks, mate.
Alrighty, let's bring in Adrian for the final step on the podium. P3 tonight, Adrian. Didn't quite have the pace of the front runners. It looked like your tyres were going away from you there at the end a bit, buddy.
No, well, Matty, forget Matty. I wasn't even looking at him. He's at another level, that guy. But no, it was no, tyres were good. It was more fuel. I was watching the guy behind. I had quite a lot of air behind me, so I sort of backed off a little bit, hoping for a safety car. It never happened. Then I got back on it and just drove my race in third.
Yep. So you had Bruce White chasing you down there for a minute. Were you sort of watching?
I was watching. Yeah, that's what I was watching. So I was keeping an eye on that, and then I don't know what happened to him because he was almost let down
with a 40-second hold, mate. I think he tried to go into the pits a little bit too hot, and it caught him out tonight. So unfortunate for Brucey there. But mate, you had a good solid race. I know that Adam was just saying that the setups has been pretty good this season, and didn't seem to take that long to get the tyres into that working window. But tyres were never on the menu for you as well?
No, well, I was thinking I was potentially going to do them in the second stop, but no, during that race they felt fine. There was not one time that they felt like they were going off, or I just stuck with them basically.
So it was just fuel and just keep an eye on the gaps and manage the gap until you
basically. So if someone got near me, I probably could have pushed a little bit, but no, it was nice little gap there. And for some reason, number 3 is everything. Like last week, it was qualify 3, finish third. This one was qualify third, finish third. So there's a lot of threes.
There's consistency there, though, buddy. So you got to be happy with that, and hopefully, I know you're new to the SRW's league here, but so far, you're getting in amongst it in a couple of podiums, mate. So you got to be pretty chuffed with yourself.
Yeah, it was awesome. So just sticking with the first 20 minutes were pretty cool. With sticking with Darren and then having Adam behind me, and just sort of seesawing the gap there. But after I think Darren he sped or something happened. He got a hold.
He had to drive through as well.
And then I had no idea what I was doing on pit entry because I just downloaded the track last night. And I hadn't actually done a pit entry, so I had no idea what I was doing there. But I eventually got in there, and I lost some time to Adam, and he got by.
Well, slow and steady, but you managed to bring it home on the podium, buddy. Have you got any sponsors or anyone you want to give a shout out to there too before we wrap up tonight's stream?
Yeah, we'll just shout out to Kittens, a shout out to AML Technology, and again to my 2 kids that are still asleep.
Awesome, Adrian. Well, let's hope they stay that way. Not the whole time, but next week, so you can come back and race it all again. Looks like the Enduro is out of the is done and dusted now. So some shorter races. You guys will probably look forward to them.
Yeah, that was a long race, so I'm feeling it, but it was good.
Awesome, buddy. Well, congratulations on another P3, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you a bit more in the future if you keep these consistent results going, buddy.
Well, good. Thanks a lot.
No worries. Alrighty, Toddy. Well, look, I think that brings us to the end of our stream tonight. Scotty Rattlegun Rankin had to leave early, guys. So it's Cowie Average Sim Racer here closing things off. But Scotty will be back with me again next week for another hit of our Super Wednesday show, the TCRs and F3s. Again, it's great to have all of you guys with us here at SRW TV. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to hit the like button, click that notification bell, subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the action. On behalf of our management and broadcast team here at SRW, we have Scotty Rankin on comms, Chef Toddy behind the scenes, our producer, This is Cowie Average Sim Racer signing off, saying good luck, good luck, and we'll see you next time on SRW TV.
Much loved, legends. Keep safe.